I was reborn on the day I was diagnosed pregnant, the same day my husband Shin Si-hing awoke from an explosion with partial memory loss. His attending physician happened to be Jiang Nua, his childhood sweetheart. Si-hing's brain injury damaged his emotional cognition. Do you want him to remember the child you're carrying is his, or that I'm the childhood love he once cherished, in my past life? I chose to make him remember our child, but afterward, though Si-hing acknowledged paternity, he treated me with icy indifference while doting on Jiang Nua, claiming he owed her. I became society's laughingstock, the woman who trapped a man with pregnancy but couldn't keep his heart. In the end, he left all his corporate shares to Jiang Nua, declaring she was the love of his life. Meanwhile, consumed by postpartum depression and public ridicule, I leapt from a high-rise with our child. Only after death did I discover he'd never lost his memory. This was just his cruel scheme to force a divorce. Given a second chance, why cling to a man who never loved me? In this life, I caressed my abdomen calmly and said, let him remember you. Also, please schedule an abortion for me. 1. Miss Sue, are you absolutely sure? This is still a living being after all. I'm certain. I met her gaze, enunciating each word deliberately. Abortion procedures take a heavy physical toll. I strongly advise you to reconsider. Jiang Nua continued her insincere persuasion. The corner of my mouth twitched. Dr. Jiang, you're Shin Si-hing's attending physician, not mine. I'll handle my own affairs. Thank you. I stepped around her and walked straight to the nurse's station, speaking just loud enough for people in the hallway to hear. Hello, I'd like to schedule an abortion procedure. The sooner, the better. The nurse looked up at me in surprise, then glanced at Jiang Nua standing pale-faced nearby, her eyes brimming with curiosity. Ignoring her, I turned away with my appointment slip. As I passed Jiang Nua, I paused mid-step. Oh, one more thing, don't let him remember me. I'd be sickened. I saw it clearly. Her meticulously maintained facade finally shattered completely. After completing the paperwork, I returned to the hospital room to find Shin Si-hing already awake. Jiang Nua sat by his bedside, tenderly helping him drink water. As I entered, Shin Si-hing's eyes held just the right blend of unfamiliarity and wariness. Who are you? His acting remained as impeccable as it had been in our past life. Meanwhile, Jiang Nua immediately rose to shield me, adopting a protective stance. Si-hing, you just woke up. Don't get worked up. This is Miss Sue. I smiled without calling them out. Playing along with their charade is exhausting. I tossed a file onto the nightstand without ceremony. Since we're strangers now, perfect timing. Sign the divorce papers. 2. The air froze instantly. The expressions on Shin Si-hing and Jiang Nua's faces were priceless. They'd probably imagined 1,000 scenarios where I'd throw tantrums, demand explanations, or cling desperately, everything except me being this decisive. Shin Si-hing's brows knitted tightly, his eyes, which should have been clouded with amnesia, now sharp with scrutiny and icy detachment. Divorce, he repeated softly, as if verifying he'd heard correctly. Yes, divorce, I nodded. Since you only remember your childhood sweetheart, there's no point in me occupying this wife position. We'll follow our prenup. I won't take a penny more, and you won't shortchange me a dime. The prenuptial agreement was drafted by top-tier lawyers my father hired specifically to protect my interests. In the event of divorce, 30% of Shin Si-hing's company shares would be unconditionally transferred to me as compensation. Jiang Nua's face instantly drained of color. She knew the agreement's terms better than anyone. If Shin Si-hing actually signed it, everything she'd schemed for would be significantly diminished. She rushed forward, grasping Shin Si-hing's hand while soothing him gently. Si-hing, don't listen to her nonsense. How can we discuss such matters when you're still ill? Miss Sue, he's only temporarily forgotten you. How cruel to mention divorce at his most vulnerable moment. There she goes again, playing the innocent white lotus. I watched her, amused by the absurdity. Dr. Jiang, he's just forgotten me, not lost his mind. Signing a document won't affect his recovery. I waved the appointment slip in my hand. Besides, I've already completed the abortion paperwork. You don't need to worry about any messy entanglements between us in the future. Shin Si-hing's pupils contracted sharply. The mother-in-law, who'd been watching from the doorway, finally couldn't hold back and rushed in. She snatched the appointment slip from my hands, trembling with rage when she saw the words abortion procedure. Su Luo, you venomous witch, how dare you? That's the Shin family's firstborn heir. I stared at her coldly. This is my child. I'll keep it if I choose, or terminate if I choose. What business is it of your precious Shin family? You. My mother-in-law raised her hand furiously as if to strike me. I didn't flinch. I knew she wouldn't dare. The Su family hadn't fallen yet. She wouldn't actually lay hands on me. Just as expected, her hand froze midair before she could only point at my nose and unleash a torrent of abuse. Fine, very good, Su Luo, grown some backbone. have you? Let me make this clear. As long as I draw breath, you'll never set foot in the Shin household again. Perfect. I never wanted it anyway. I retrieved the appointment slip from her hand, folded it neatly, and tucked it into my bag. Shin Si-hing. I'm leaving the divorce papers here. You've got 3 days to decide, sign them, and I'll take my money and walk away, no strings attached. With that, I turned and walked away without another glance. I knew all they wanted was a Shin heir, not the inconvenient mother standing in their way, but this child is mine, only I get to decide its fate. 3. I moved back into my pre-marriage apartment. My best friend Lin Weiwan rushed over immediately and gave me a big hug the moment she stepped in. Good for you, it's about damn time. That Shin Si-hing is nothing but an ungrateful snake. She was stomping her feet in anger. In my past life after I died, she fought tooth and nail to clear my name, trying to expose Shin Si-hing and Jiang Nua's true colors, only to be crushed by the Shin family at every turn. Given this second chance, I won't let her worry about me anymore. Don't worry, I won't make the same mistakes this time. I reassured her with a pat on the back. For the next 2 days, I completely powered off my phone, ignoring all calls. I need to calm down, and Shin Si-hing's group needs to cool off too. I know they must be going out of their minds with worry right now. Sure enough, Lin Weiwan's phone rang on the third morning. It was Shin Si-hing's mother, my mother-in-law. Lin Weiwan put the call on speakerphone. Her mother-in-law's voice, no longer sharp-toned as before, now carried deliberate gentleness. Weiwan dear, it's Si-hing's mother. Do you know where Luo went? She turned off her phone and we can't reach her. We're terribly worried. Lin Weiwan rolled her eyes at the phone while maintaining polite tones. Auntie, Luo isn't feeling well and needs some alone time. Whatever you need, you can tell me instead. My mother-in-law paused briefly before speaking. Tell Luo to stop being stubborn. The child is innocent. Why can't we discuss things properly instead of escalating the situation? Si-hing is alright now. How could she be so unreasonable as his wife? That same old lecture again. Lin Weiwan was fuming and about to curse when my warning glance stopped her. I took the phone directly and spoke calmly. Mom, I'm not being petty. I'm doing this because I understand. That's why I'm stepping aside to let him be with Jiang Nua. The breathing on the other end of the line hitched abruptly. Did he sign the agreement? If he did, I'll come get it now. Do you really have to push us like this? My mother-in-law's voice trembled with tears. Si-hing just lost his memory. It doesn't mean he stopped loving you. Love, I let out a bitter laugh, as if hearing the most absurd joke. If he loved me, why would his selective amnesia only erase me while remembering some childhood sweetheart from 10 years ago? Mom, do you even believe these lies you're telling yourself? Dead silence answered from the other end of the line. I hung up immediately. I knew Shin Si-hing was listening nearby. Those words were meant for his ears. I wanted him to know I'd seen through his little game. That afternoon, Shin Si-hing's assistant called me, saying Mr. Shin wanted to meet to discuss the divorce agreement. 4. The meeting was arranged in a private room at an upscale members-only club. When I arrived, Shin Si-hing was already there. He changed out of his hospital gown into a well-tailored black suit, his hair meticulously combed. Apart from a lingering pallor, there was no trace of someone who'd been seriously ill. Jiang Nua wasn't there. Sitting alone on the sofa, he absently flicked a lighter open and shut, his gaze inscrutable. Made up your mind? I pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. He didn't answer, just looked up at me. So you really don't want the kid? What's it to you? I shot back. My words caught him off guard, his expression darkening. Su Luo, do you realize what you're doing? I know exactly what I'm doing. I met his gaze squarely. I'm cutting my losses. His lighter snapped shut with a sharp click. You want shares? Fine, but the child stays. After delivery, hand the baby to my mother. Take the money and go wherever you please, live however you want. From then on, we're strangers. I looked at him and suddenly laughed. Shin Si-hing. Do you really think every woman is dying to bear your child? You want kids? Fine. I leaned forward slightly, locking eyes with him. Let Jiang Nua bear them for you. Isn't she your true love? The fruit of your precious romance would surely be far nobler than anything conceived by an outsider like me. Su Luo. He sprang to his feet. Don't push your luck. Push my luck. I tilted my head up at him, the smile on my lips turning glacial. Who's really pushing their luck here? Shin Si-hing. Your fake amnesia was just a ploy to force me into divorce and make way for your childhood sweetheart, wasn't it? What's wrong? Suddenly realized the price of divorce is too steep to pay. You want custody of the child without paying the price. Since when does life hand out freebies like that? Let me make this crystal clear, that child is mine, and I call the shots. Sign the divorce papers or don't, I couldn't care less. I'm getting the procedure done tomorrow. And you'll be left with nothing. With that, I grabbed my bag and walked out without looking back. Just as I reached the doorway, his hand shot out and clamped around my wrist. "Don't you dare." His words came through gritted teeth. All pretense of confusion had vanished from his eyes, leaving only raw menace and brutality. I know I pushed him too far. Just then, the private room door swung open. Jian Nua walked in carrying a thermal container. "Seeing our tense standoff?" Her smile faltered momentarily before quickly returning to normal. "Sihing, I made you some soup. Your mother mentioned you'd be here, so I brought it specially." I struggled to break free from Shen Sihing's grip. In the chaos, my arm collided squarely with Jian Nua. "Ah," she cried out as the thermos slipped from her hands, sending scalding soup splashing toward her. Shen Sihing abruptly shoved me aside and shielded Jian Nua in his arms. I staggered backward a few steps, slamming into the doorframe as a sharp pain shot through my lower back. Then came a dull, dragging ache in my abdomen. My face drained of color as my hands flew instinctively to my stomach. Shen Sihing's gaze lingered on my hands clutching my belly, his expression unreadable. Jian Nua hurried to his side, anxiously scanning him up and down. "Sihing, are you okay? Did she hurt you?" Shen Sihing didn't answer her, just stared daggers at me. The door burst open again as mother-in-law entered. Taking in the scene, she immediately charged at me, jabbing her finger in my face while shouting accusations. "You jinx, are you trying to kill my son? If anything happens to Sihing, I'll make you and the entire Shen family pay with your lives." The pain left me speechless, cold sweat trickling down my temples. I stared at them. One was my lawful husband, the other my mother-in-law in name only. They gathered around, accusing and cursing me, yet not a single soul asked if I was in pain. Just like my last life, when I lay hemorrhaging on the delivery table while they only cared about the baby's gender. Suddenly, I laughed until tears streamed down my face. This is the person I've loved for 10 years, someone who betrayed and hurt me for another's sake. Leaning against the wall, I slowly straightened up and wiped the tears from my eyes. "Shen Sihing, we're through, not divorce. It's you who's finished." 5. My words left all three people present utterly stunned. Shen Sihing's brows furrowed deeper, his eyes filled with complete scrutiny and bewilderment. My mother-in-law looked at me as if I were insane. "What nonsense are you spouting?" Ignoring them, I took out my phone and dialed Lin Weiwan's number. "Weiwan, call an ambulance for me. Golden Palace Club. I'm having terrible stomach pains. I think I might be miscarrying." Shen Sihing's face turned ashen the moment he heard miscarriage. He tried to step forward, but Jian Nua gripped his arm desperately. "Sihong, don't go near her. She's faking it. This is just her manipulative tactic to force your surrender." My mother-in-law snapped out of her daze and chimed in. "Exactly, she's doing this on purpose. That scheming woman's playing dirty." Waves of darkness pulsed across my vision from the pain, yet I mustered every ounce of strength to twist my lips into a sardonic smile. "Whether I'm faking or not, why don't we let the paramedics and doctors be the judges when they arrive? The headlines will be sensational. Shen Group CEO shoves pregnant wife during divorce dispute, causing miscarriage. You." Shen Sihing's temples pulsed with rage. The ambulance arrived swiftly. As they lifted me onto the stretcher, I saw the torment and fury blazing in Shen Sihing's eyes. He wanted to intervene, but feared escalating the situation beyond control. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as I was wheeled away. At the hospital, after a series of examinations, the doctor said I'd just experienced uterine contractions. The baby was fine but required hospitalization for observation. Lying on the hospital bed, I saw Lin Weiwan shedding angry tears beside me. "That family is utterly heartless. Luo, we can't just let this slide." "Of course we won't." I patted her hand reassuringly. Word about my hospitalization eventually got out. The next day, my father flew back from abroad. The moment he stepped into the hospital room and saw my pallid face, his eyes instantly welled up with tears. "Dad," I propped myself up. "Stay down, don't move." He restrained me, voice thick with suppressed fury. "Where's that Shen boy? Does he dare treat you this way because he thinks the Su family has no backbone?" My father had always doted on me. When I insisted on marrying Shen Sihing years ago, he objected vehemently, saying that man's ambitions were too vast. I'd never be able to rein him in. I was blinded by so-called love. "Dad, I'm divorcing him," I said calmly. My father froze momentarily, then nodded emphatically. "Divorce, do it now. No daughter of the Su family should endure such humiliation. Dad, stay out of this for now." I held his arm. "I've got my own plans. In my past life, the Su family was systematically destroyed by Shen Sihing's schemes after standing up for me, ultimately leading to bankruptcy. This time around, I won't let my family suffer any harm because of me." I told my father everything about Shen Sihing faking amnesia. My father slammed his palm on the table in fury after hearing this. "That bastard. Don't worry, Dad. I'll make him pay back 100-fold for what he owes me." I said with icy determination in my eyes. That afternoon, Shin Si-hing's mother arrived carrying a fruit basket. Her arrogant demeanor from the club that day vanished, replaced by a face plastered with insincere smiles. Luo Luo, are you feeling better now? It's all my fault. I got too carried away that day. Please don't take it to heart. As she spoke, she reached out to grab my hand. I dodged her touch. Cut to the chase. Her smile froze momentarily before she continued. Look, you and Si-hing were married after all. There's nothing you can't work through. With Si-hing being ill and the company in chaos, rumors of your divorce are tanking the stock prices. For his sake, could you at least put the divorce on hold? She was here to broker peace. I looked at her and suddenly found it absurdly comical. Now that the stock price dropped, you suddenly care. But when he pushed me down and I almost miscarried, why didn't any of you give a damn? My words left her utterly speechless. Go tell Shin Si-hing I won't retract the divorce papers. If he wants to keep his company from going under, he'd better sign without fuss, otherwise I've got no problem turning this into an even bigger scandal. My words shattered her last hope completely. She finally dropped the act, jabbing a finger at me as she snapped. Su Luo, don't push your luck. You actually think the Shin family fears you? Bring it on, I said coldly, locking eyes with her. My glare startled her, and she eventually slunk away in frustration. After she left, my father entered with a grave expression. The Shin family has started pulling strings to sweep this under the rug, just as expected. I wasn't surprised. Luo Luo, what exactly are you planning to do? My father looked at me with concern. I took out my phone and pulled up a photo. Dad, do you remember this man? The photo showed a bespectacled middle-aged man with gold-rimmed glasses who looked refined and scholarly. My father took one look and immediately furrowed his brows. Wang Jinghua. Wasn't he sent to prison by Shin Si-hing years ago for embezzlement? Right, I nodded. Dad, help me get in touch with his family. Tell them there's more to what happened back then. I'm the only one who knows the truth. 6. Wang Jinghua was Shin Si-hing's business partner during the startup phase and a close friend of his father. As the company grew, Shin Si-hing framed Wang Jinghua for embezzlement to seize his shares, personally orchestrating his imprisonment. Shortly after incarceration, Wang Jinghua died under suspicious circumstances labeled as an accident. This matter became an unremovable thorn in Shin Si-hing's heart. It remained the sole blemish on his otherwise impeccable career. In my past life, I stumbled upon irregularities in this affair, but my devotion to Shin Si-hing kept me from investigating further. Given a second chance, I'd gathered irrefutable evidence. My first grand gift to him, my father worked efficiently and quickly got in touch with Wang Jinghua's wife. I gave her a copy of the evidence from back then. She broke down in tears on the spot, kneeling and begging me to help clear her husband's name. I helped her up and said, Auntie, don't worry, justice may be delayed, but it will never be denied. The time has come. Mrs. Wang took the evidence to the authorities and reopened the case. A single spark can start a prairie fire. Shin Group CEO exposed for framing business partner, leading to wrongful death in prison. The news exploded like a bombshell, instantly sending shockwaves through the entire business community. Shin Group's stock price immediately hit the daily limit down. The board urgently convened a meeting, demanding Si-hing Shin provide a reasonable explanation. Besieged on all sides, Shin scrambled to pull strings and suppress the news, but this time, with my father pulling strings behind the scenes, all his efforts were rendered futile. Just as he was at his wit's end, I delivered my second devastating blow. As Mrs. Shin, I granted an exclusive interview to a prestigious financial magazine. During the interview, I calmly recounted how Shin Si-hing conspired with his childhood friend, a doctor, to feign amnesia and force me into divorce while I was pregnant, leaving no detail untold. I accidentally brought up that prenuptial agreement worth 30% of the shares. My husband probably felt shortchanged by this agreement, which explains why he's trying to leave me with nothing. I smiled serenely at the camera. Yet every word stripped Shin Si-hing bare, exposing the hypocrisy beneath his polished elite facade. As expected, the interview detonated a media firestorm, abandoning his pregnant wife and framing his business partner. Shin Si-hing's public image collapsed overnight, from devoted business prodigy to shameless scumbag and ruthless criminal. Shin Group's PR department was flooded with non-stop calls. Lying in my hospital bed, scrolling through the overwhelming flood of online vitriol, I felt an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. Shin Si-hing, this is just the appetizer. The real show hasn't even begun yet. That evening, Shin Si-hing finally showed up. He looked like he hadn't slept for days, with dark circles under his eyes and his designer suit crumpled, all traces of his former vigor gone. The moment he entered, he dismissed everyone, shut the hospital room door, and glared at me with bloodshot eyes. Su Luo, What the hell are you trying to do? He growled lowly, like a cornered beast pushed to its limits. Can't you see what I'm doing? I set my phone down deliberately. I'm ruining your reputation. You're insane. What do you gain from this? Destroying me and Shin Corporation leaves you with nothing. Who says I get nothing? I lifted my gaze to meet his, watching you suffer. Seeing you fall from grace, it brings me such joy. His chest heaved violently, visibly shaken by my words. Su Luo, after all our years together, must you be so ruthless? His voice softened, tinged with pleading. Just go public now. Tell the media it was all a misunderstanding. I'll handle Wang Jinggua's matter discreetly. I'll sign the divorce papers immediately. You'll get every share you're owed. Can't we part ways amicably? At last, fear began to creep in. I looked at him and suddenly laughed. Shen Sihing, have you forgotten? I still have something in my possession. His face turned deathly pale in an instant. 7. I'm referring to that damning evidence I possess about how his father built the family fortune. Shen Sihing's father, Old Master Shen, made his initial wealth through smuggling operations. This remains the Shen family's most closely guarded secret. In my past life, Old Master Shen personally handed me all the evidence on his deathbed, making me swear to use it as a wake-up call whenever Shen Sihing strayed from his roots. The cruel irony, before I could intervene, he'd already sealed my fate. Reborn on the day my pregnancy was confirmed, my first act was returning to the Shen ancestral home to retrieve that damning evidence. How could you know? Shen Sihing's voice trembled uncontrollably. How I found out doesn't matter. The corners of my mouth curled higher as I watched panic twist his features. What matters is, if this gets leaked, what do you think will happen to the Shen family? To the mighty Shin Corporation. Shin Corporation's rise was built on those shady early-stage capital accumulations. Exposure wouldn't just mean tax troubles, it'd be outright criminal charges. The Shin family will fall completely, not a single member will escape unscathed. No, you can't do this. He grabbed my shoulders and shook me violently. That's illegal, you'll be implicated too. What do I care? I shrugged indifferently. What do I have left to lose? This worthless life of mine is a fair trade for dragging the entire Shin family down with me. My words hit him like a bucket of ice water, chilling him to the bone. He finally released me, staggering back 2 steps before collapsing onto the sofa. His entire body seemed drained of all strength. What do you even want? He murmured, his voice thick with despair. It's simple. I sat up and told him point by point. First, publicly apologize. To me, to the Su family, and to the Wang Jinghua family you framed. Second, I want half of all the real estate under your name, excluding the shares covered in our prenup. Third, and most importantly, I held his gaze as I slowly enunciated the final 3 words. Turn yourself in. Shen Sihing jerked his head up, staring at me in disbelief. Turn myself in? Su Luo, have you lost your damn mind? I'm perfectly sane. My voice remained calm. Framing someone for imprisonment is a crime. Crimes demand punishment. Isn't that basic logic? Besides, sacrificing you alone to protect the entire Shin family, that's a bargain by any measure. Over my dead body, he roared, then we'll go to hell together. I shrugged with a scorched earth defiance. The hospital room plunged into tomb-like silence. Shen Sihing stared daggers at me, his gaze practically skinning me alive. I knew I was crossing his red line, so what? Did he ever consider my limits when he drove me into a corner? After a long while, he finally conceded defeat. Fine, he hissed the word through clenched teeth. I promise you. The hatred in his eyes was almost palpable, but I couldn't care less. All I want is his complete downfall and utter ruin. 3 days later, Shen Sihing held a press conference, before the cameras of national media. He confessed to framing his business partner Wang Jinghua and bowed an apology to the Wang family. He then read aloud a lengthy letter of apology, expressing his deepest remorse to me and to the Su family. Throughout the entire process, his face remained expressionless, like a soulless puppet. I knew this torment was worse than death for him. When the press conference ended, he was immediately taken away by the police. Shin Group's stock price completely collapsed. The shock was too much for mother-in-law. She collapsed on the spot. Yet Jiang Nua, his childhood sweetheart, was conspicuously absent throughout. My guess, she'd probably gone into hiding, terrified of being implicated in the Shin family's downfall. No matter, she won't escape my reckoning. Shen Sihing's case went to trial swiftly. Given his voluntary surrender, he ultimately received a 10-year sentence. His assets were divided according to our prior agreement. I came away with a substantial sum of money and several properties. And then there's that precarious 30% stake in the Shin Group. My father advised me to sell the shares to avoid trouble. I refused. I'm keeping these shares, they'll go to my child. The moment the doctor said the baby was still there, a wave of relief washed over me. I once thought abandoning it was the only way to sever ties with the past, But in that instant I realized, keeping him alive, making him the heir to my Su family, would be the ultimate punishment for Shin Si-hing. I'll make sure my child knows everything his mother lost, he'll reclaim with his own hands. 7. After dealing with Shin Si-hing's matter, I turned my attention to Jiang Nua. I had someone investigate her. The truth was far more shocking than I'd imagined. The so-called medical prodigy Dr. Jiang turned out to have fabricated her entire credentials. Her academic degree was bought with money, her professional certification was forged. Even those papers she published in top international journals were plagiarized and falsely claimed as her own. The person who facilitated all this was none other than Shin Si-hing. I compiled all the evidence and anonymously sent it to the hospital's disciplinary committee, along with major medical media outlets. Soon, news of Jiang Nua's academic fraud and unlicensed medical practice spread across the entire internet. The hospital immediately fired her and permanently revoked her medical license. She became the disgrace of the medical community, a universally despised pariah. I thought she'd disappear for good. To my surprise, she actually had the nerve to come find me. That day, I'd just gotten back when I spotted her waiting outside my apartment. She'd lost considerable weight, with sunken eyes that had lost their former radiance, just a shadow of her former self. She spotted me and came charging like a madwoman, grabbing my arm. "Su Luo, was it you? You did this to me." "It was me." I met her gaze calmly. "Everything you have now was stolen. I'm just returning what rightfully belongs to its owner, returning what's rightful." She let out a shrill laugh, as if hearing some absurd joke. "How dare you? Si-hing loves me. The title of Mrs. Shin rightfully belongs to me. It's you, you vile woman, who forced him into this marriage using your family's influence. You stole everything from me." Her words left me stunned. "Forced him to marry me." Si-hing and I fell in love of our own free will. Back then, he was the one who relentlessly pursued me with grand gestures, flowers, luxury cars, making headlines across town. That's what won me over. My father disapproved from the start, convinced his intentions weren't pure. It was my stubborn insistence, even risking estrangement from Dad, that finally made him grudgingly consent. Since when did this become a story about me forcing marriage through power? Watching Jiang Nua's face contort with jealousy, it suddenly dawned on me. This was probably another lie Shin Si-hing fabricated to placate his childhood sweetheart. He shifted all the blame onto me, casting himself as the tragic hero forced to sacrifice love for family interests. Jiang Nua was precisely that wronged, blameless heroine. What a spectacular, heart-wrenching love drama this turned out to be. You're absolutely right. I suddenly laughed. I forced him to do it. Not just that, I made him break up with you, made him treat me like royalty. How does that make you feel? Burning with rage. "Ah, I'll kill you." Jiang Nua flew into a rage at my words, lunging at me like a wild animal. Her nails raked viciously across my cheek. I didn't dodge, letting her vent her fury, until security rushed over and pulled her away. I touched the bloody scratch on my face, watching Jiang Nua being dragged off with icy eyes. Everything should come to an end now. 8. Jiang Nua was detained for 15 days for intentional assault. The day she was released from detention, she wasn't met with freedom, but with a court summons. After the Shin family's downfall, all the rivals Shin Si-hing had suppressed began striking back. One of them uncovered how Shin Si-hing had previously used unethical means to bankrupt a medical equipment company, pushing its owner to suicide, all to pave Jiang Nua's way. Jiang Nua was both a direct beneficiary and active participant in that incident. The evidence was irrefutable. As an accomplice, she received a 5-year sentence. I was decorating the nursery for my baby when the news reached me. Lin Weiwan stood by helping and remarked with a sigh, "What goes around comes around." I smiled faintly without responding. I merely reclaimed what was rightfully mine. A year later, my son was born. I named him Suanan. May his life be blessed with peace, smooth sailing, and carefree joy. My father was overjoyed and transferred half of the company's shares to my son's name, declaring he'd make him the happiest child in the world. I didn't refuse. 2 more years passed when I came across Shin Si-hing's news story. His good behavior in prison earned him a reduced sentence. The photo showed a man aged beyond his years, hair mostly gray, eyes hollow, all traces of his former vitality gone. Rumor had it that after release, he contacted no one and drifted alone to a southern town, surviving on odd jobs. His mother, unable to bear the shock after the Shin family's bankruptcy, suffered a mental breakdown and was admitted to a sanatorium. The Shin family, once a prominent and illustrious household, thus completely faded from history's stage. Gazing at my babbling toddler cradled in my arms, I kissed his forehead. "Sweetheart, look, the sky's cleared up outside, sunshine streams through the window. The storm in my life has finally cleared. As for those who hurt me, their fate no longer matters. Because I've already begun my new chapter, a new life filled with sunshine and hope, one without Shin Si-hing, within and by my side. I took over my father's company, no longer the love-struck girl obsessed with men. I immersed myself in management and investments, steering the Su family business to new heights. I became a renowned businesswoman with no shortage of suitors. There were handsome young admirers and mature, dependable business partners. But I turned them all down. My heart died with my last marriage. Now I just want to focus on raising my son, cherishing my family, and living out my days in peace. The year in turned 5. I took him to the amusement park. By the carousel, I spotted a figure both familiar and strange. It was Shin Si-hing. He looked even more down and out than in the news reports, wearing a faded t-shirt covered in dust. He struggled to fix the malfunctioning carousel. He seemed to notice me too. Freezing mid-motion as his body went rigid, his gaze lingered on Anand's face, refusing to look away. The near mirror image of his own features made his eyes brim with indescribable complexity, shock, remorse, and a flicker of something I couldn't quite decipher, longing, perhaps. Grabbing Anand's hand, I turned and walked away without hesitation. "Mommy, why does that uncle keep staring at me?" Anand tilted her head upward, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "Because our Anand is just too adorable." I chuckled, giving her little nose an affectionate pinch. That scorching gaze burned into my back like a persistent shadow. I didn't turn around. "Shin Si-hing, whatever we had ended long ago, the moment I chose to keep this child and weave this inescapable trap for you, all ties between us were severed forever. What you owed me has been repaid with your freedom and the entire Shin family. We're even now. From this day forth. You go your way and I'll go mine. Mountains and rivers may meet, but we never shall." Story 2. I've been sworn enemies with Pei-ku for an entire lifetime. Even after we got married, we kept annoying each other. He accompanied his first love to a diamond ring store, while I went to the aquarium with a young college student. But when a freight truck came crashing towards us, he stepped in front of me to shield me, reborn in a new life. I decided not to compete with him anymore and to fulfill his wish to be with his first love. The unruly young man's eyes turned red for the first time. "Xie Qiao, if you want to get rid of me, try in your next life." 1. I opened my eyes. The blackboard filled with white chalk writing was blocked by a tall figure. Pei-ku's sharp and flamboyant face, wearing a provocative smile, came into my view. I felt a bit dazed. It had probably been more than a decade since I last saw him in a school uniform. The blue and white jacket was unbuttoned, and his thick eyebrows were slightly arched. Upon closer inspection, there was a very faint scar at the peak of his eyebrow, adding a bit of an intimidating aura to him. He still looked as annoying as ever. My deskmate said angrily, "Pei-ku, you're stealing Xie Qiao's notes again. Aren't you ashamed to get first place by such means?" That's when I noticed. He was holding a pink notebook in his hand and was tossing it around playfully. He curved his lips unruly. "It's the people who can't get first place that should be ashamed." Just then, a sweet female voice rang out gently, "Pei-ku, don't be like this. What girl would like a boy who likes to bully others?" The white collar of a shirt peeked out from the girl's school uniform jacket, and the drawstring of the linen fabric was tied into a cute bow. She was like the bright and beautiful campus heroine in a youth idol drama. It was Bai Ji, Pei-ku's deskmate and also his future first love, the belle of the computer science department at University A. I didn't have a deep impression of her. I just remembered that she had liked Pei-ku since high school and often followed him around. After the college entrance examination, she and Pei-ku both applied to University A. The last time I saw them was through the transparent glass of a gold store, where I saw her following Pei-ku as they were choosing a ring. After saying that, Bai Ji lowered her head shyly, gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and revealed a sweet smile. For some reason, after hearing her words, Pei-ku was slightly stunned. Then he turned his head awkwardly and his eyes landed elsewhere. He said viciously, "Do I need her to like me? Also, what's that smell on you?" Bai Ji smiled shyly and explained, "This is the natural fragrance of a girl. You boys might not understand. I've had it since I was a child. It stinks." Bai Ji's smile froze on her face. What an idiot straight man. I silently scolded in my heart. Pei-ku turned his gaze back to me and continued the mockery he hadn't finished. "Xie Qiao, listen to me. If you just rely on rote memorization to study science subjects, you might as well not waste your time on the college entrance examination." He had always been sharp-tongued, to the extent that he could probably poison himself just by licking his lips. If I were still 18 years old, I would have already kicked him by now. But now, I suddenly felt a bit tired. Too, Pei-ku and I had been sworn enemies since we were children. We would compete in everything. When we played house as children, we would compete to be the emperor. When we were studying, we would compete to be the first. When we were in relationships, we would compare our partners. If he dated the department belle, I had to date the campus heartthrob. We even competed to see who would get married first, unfortunately. On the day we were supposed to get the marriage certificate, my fiancé ran away with his childhood sweetheart. I grabbed Pei-ku, who was standing nearby and giving me the middle finger in mockery, and dragged him into the Civil Affairs Bureau. I took out my household registration book and slapped it on the counter. Do you dare to get a marriage certificate? Whoever doesn't dare is a coward. He got angry and also took out his household registration book, and said stubbornly, let's get it then. After that, we started a 5-year life as a resentful couple. On our 5th wedding anniversary, he accompanied his first love to a diamond ring store, while I went to the aquarium with a young college student. We both had a bright future. If it hadn't been for that freight truck that crashed into us, I would probably never forget that scene. A huge shadow suddenly loomed over us. In my ears was the ear-piercing screech of the wheels violently rubbing against the asphalt road. Pei-ku almost instantly turned the steering wheel, the car body rotated 90 degrees, and the freight truck crashed into his side. When the huge crashing sound rang out, he hugged me tightly in his arms. Unfortunately, it didn't help much. In the end, we both died in the car accident. On the verge of death, he gently put his lips next to my ear. His voice was weak, but filled with a thick sense of self-mockery. Xie Qiao, let's not be a couple in the next life, I instinctively wanted to retort. Who wants to be entangled with you for another lifetime? But my throat was blocked by the blood qi, and I couldn't say it out loud. Finally, he let out a soft sigh. It seemed like regret, and also like a pity. I completely lost consciousness. Now, seeing his face again, I just felt a sense of melancholy. This handsome and unruly face was worlds apart from the resentful husband appearance he had after we got married in the previous life. Standing beside him, Bai Ji really made a handsome man and a beautiful woman, a perfect couple. My heart was slightly touched. I suddenly didn't want to compete anymore. In the previous life, I lived too competitively and forgot that life was short. I destroyed Pei-ku and also destroyed myself. At the last moment of his life, he was probably regretful. Instead of being with the person he loved, he was painfully entangled with me for a lifetime. In the end, he didn't meet a good end, with a determined look in my eyes. I stood up from my seat. The mockery in his eyes became even stronger. He seemed determined not to give up. But I calmly said, I don't want it anymore. He was stunned, and his eyebrows furrowed slightly. What do you mean? I looked up, looking straight into his cold eyes. I said firmly, I won't compete with you anymore. Pei-ku, from now on, we'll go our separate ways. I don't want to compete with you for anything anymore. Reborn in this new life. I don't want to be a vicious woman from a young age anymore. I want to live a happier life. 3. Pei-ku sneered and turned around to leave. Obviously, he didn't believe what I said. I stuffed the notebook he returned into the drawer. I said to the girl who was still standing there, Bai Ji, thank you. She was stunned for 2 seconds. Then she clenched the hem of her clothes, and her eyes were flustered. What did you say? I blinked. I said thank you for speaking up for me just now. She bit her lips tightly and furrowed her delicate eyebrows. After a long time, her eyebrows finally relaxed. She put on her usual sweet smile again, but her tone was a bit strange. Xie Qiao. It turns out that besides Pei-ku, you can also see other people. I was stunned, and it took me a long time to understand what she meant. I regarded Pei-ku as a rival and clung to him tightly. I was determined to beat him. But in the eyes of others, it might not be like that, especially this person, who always paid attention to Pei-ku. In the previous life, if it hadn't been for me, the crush that started in youth might not have been rekindled and come to a happy ending after many years. My heart felt a bit sour. I lowered my head and said softly, I'm sorry. 4. The college entrance examination was approaching soon. The school organized mock exams frequently. Since the exams had become routine, the small-scale mock exams were uniformly arranged at our own seats. When it came to the English exam, a head with yellow hair poked out from behind me. He lowered his voice. Top student, let me copy your answers, will you? I looked up. The invigilator was dozing off at the podium, with his eyes opening and closing. I understood. I generously handed my test paper to the person behind me. Damn, you're so generous, Miss Hero. In the end, the results came out. I scored 32 points, and he scored 36 points. He hugged his test paper and wailed, if you didn't want me to copy, you could just say so. You can't play me like this, can you? I could have scored 40 or 50 points even if I took the test myself. He wiped away the non-existent tears. My dad is going to whip me again. The boy sitting behind me was called Wei Qing, a rich young man with dyed yellow hair. Because his family donated a building to the school, even if he dyed his hair green, the teachers would turn a blind eye. I flipped through the test paper. I asked curiously, you copied mine, so why did you score higher than me? He looked half dead. I was afraid of getting a perfect score, so I changed several answers. Well, you were lucky. He wailed even louder. I asked him, your family is so rich. Why don't they send you to study abroad instead of making you take the domestic college entrance examination? Wei Qing covered his head in pain. Sis, with my English score, do you expect me to be a mute abroad? Why should I spend money to suffer? Isn't it better to be a laid-back rich second generation in China? Anyway, my family is just an upstart. They'll think it's a great honor if I can get into a university. I nodded. No wonder his dad spent a lot of money to get him into class 1. Your total score in this mock exam is 255 points. The cutoff score for the third batch of science majors in undergraduate colleges last year was 357 points. There are still 120 days until the college entrance examination. I'll tutor you. For every 10 points you improve, you give me 1,000 yuan. How about it? I spoke calmly, but my heart was pounding. Wei Qing was stunned for 2 seconds and then laughed. Top student, if you can really help me get into a university, not to mention 1,000 yuan for every 10 points, even if it's 10,000 yuan, I can afford it. My parents will also give you a big red envelope and be grateful to you. My lips were pressed tightly together, under the desk where no one could see, my palm clenched into a fist. Then it's a deal. He scratched his head. But, are you really sure you can help me improve my score by that much in 4 months? I looked at him and said calmly, you still have a lot of room for improvement. He pulled a long face. Thank you so much. 5. After the evening self-study ended, I stayed at my seat to write a study plan for Wei Qing. When Peiku slammed the ranking list in front of me, his knuckles turned slightly white because he used too much force. I looked up. He was carrying his school bag on one shoulder, and his face looked unpleasant. Xie Qiao, what do you mean? It meant nothing. Peiku's and my scores had always been very close, since our Chinese and math scores were about the same. I was better than him in English, and he was better than me in comprehensive science, so I gave up on getting a full score in English. I said calmly, I'm giving the first place to you. Isn't that good? He laughed out of anger. Do I need you to give it to me? Even if you get 150 points in English, I'll still beat you by 2 points this time. He raised his eyebrows triumphantly. I lowered my head and continued writing the plan. I perfunctorily said, He felt like he had punched the air. He exuded a faint sense of restlessness, until a classmate came over and casually put his arm around his shoulder. That person, who loved to watch the excitement, said with a gossipy look on his face, you two almost fought over a question before, now you're even giving up the first place. Brother Pei, could it be that Xie Qiao likes you? Both Pei Ku and I froze. The tip of my pen stopped on the paper, leaving a very dark ink mark. The tips of his ears turned slightly red. He kicked the person away and pretended to be fierce. Do I care if she likes me? But his eyes flitted across my face several times uneasily. All right, stop writing. He forcefully closed my notebook and put it into my school bag. Then he skillfully picked up the school bag. His ears were so red that they seemed to be bleeding. I'll walk you home. I stood up and quickly snatched the school bag from his hand. I looked straight into his eyes firmly. No need, Peiku, I don't like you. I hope you don't misunderstand. His hand froze in midair. His expression also turned cold. It was as if time stood still at that moment. My eyes swept over Bai Ji, who was half exposed outside the door. Her hand was tightly gripping the door frame, standing in the wind. She seemed to be on the verge of falling. Bai Ji is still waiting for you at the door. Don't keep her waiting for too long. I picked up my school bag and didn't look back. I quickly walked out of the classroom. Peiku. If the end of the original path is a bottomless abyss, you might also thank me for setting everything back on track. 6. When I got home and opened the door, the dim tungsten bulb illuminated the small and shabby room. Grandma came out pushing a wheelchair, wearing a loving smile on her face. Xiao Qiao is back. Are you hungry? Grandma cooked noodles. Eat them quickly before they get cold. I smiled and replied, okay. I put down my school bag and sat at the old wooden table that was full of scratches and grease stains. I wolfed down the noodles cooked by Grandma. In my ears was Grandma's nagging concern, but my eyes looked through the yellowed glass window and landed on the small Western-style house not far away. That was Peiku's home. I hated Peiku. I hated him from the first moment I saw him, on the day the Pei family moved in. I was standing behind this glass window. I saw him get out of a beautiful car. He was being held by his affectionate and well-dressed parents, but there was an unhappy expression on his face. At that time, I knew that this uncomfortable and stuffy feeling in my heart was called jealousy, and this hatred reached its peak when he came to give me, his neighbor, imported cookies but stepped on and broke the peach sapling that my mother had planted in front of our house. I picked up a stone and threw it at him. The edge of the stone left a permanent scar at the peak of his eyebrow. Since then, we became sworn enemies who would fight whenever we met. Later, he scored 0.5 points higher than me in the college entrance examination. He became the top science student in the city who always outshone me. I hated him even more, until towards the end of that summer vacation, on a rainy night, Grandma was hit by a car and fainted by the roadside. The driver fled the scene. Pekka carried her on his back. He didn't forget to pull me, who was in a state of shock, and rushed to the hospital. Outside the operating room, he stood beside me. He was completely soaked, and his messy hair hung down in front of his forehead. He pressed his lips tightly together and looked at me, who was crying hysterically. Without saying a word, after a long time, he said, "I'll go pay the fees." I stared at his retreating back in a daze. That stuffy feeling echoed in my heart again. That day, I realized, it wasn't just jealousy, but also a sense of inferiority, and that inferiority took root in my heart. It feeds like crazy on love. Eat fast. Below shows a piece of white and yellow belly poached eggs. I looked down. The tears keep falling, on time, in harping on the rest of my life. Sometimes I also forget. I'm hate him, love him. 7 in the classroom. Wei Qing covered his ears in pain. He tried to block out the sound of me reciting words, treating it like the chanting of the monk Tang in the story, and ignoring it. I stopped. When he put down his hands covering his ears, I continued to recite, "Top student, I admit I was wrong. I shouldn't have wasted time on studying. Why do you have to try to help this piece of mud that can't stick to the wall?" I was grading his English composition with a frown. Without even looking up, I said, "For money?" He asked nonchalantly. "Are you really that short of money?" I nodded and replied casually, "A father who died early, a mother who remarried, a paralyzed grandmother, and a broken her. Ah, no, it's me, so I'm really in need of money." Wei Qing was stunned and put away the cynicism on his face. He opened his mouth but didn't say anything for a long while. His expression was tangled and changing. Finally, he stretched out a palm and placed it on my shoulder. His eyes turned slightly red and he said, "Top student, I will definitely study hard with you and strive to get into university." I was just about to pat the little rich guy's head with relief. A cold and low voice sounded from behind. "What are you two doing?" I looked up. Pekka's face was stern, and his lips were tightly pursed. There was no emotion in his ink-black eyes. Pekka and I hadn't spoken to each other for several days. Hearing his voice again, it even felt a bit unfamiliar. In the past, because of the competition everywhere, Pekka and I seemed to be tied together. Now that I took the initiative to avoid him, I realized that we were just classmates with very little fate. Because of the heavy academic workload, we might not even see each other very often. I averted my gaze. Classmates helping each other. Is there a problem? He gritted his teeth and said in an unfriendly tone, "Helping each other. What can he, who got 250 points in the exam, help you with?" "Hey, it's 255 points, Wei Qing interrupted. Pekka didn't look at him but just stared at me intently. "If you want to help each other, why didn't you come to me? You can still improve in comprehensive science, and I can help you." He lowered his eyes and carefully reached out his hand. He seemed to want to grab my wrist. His tone also softened. "If you're angry with me for taking your notes last time, you can scold me a few times. Don't ignore me." Xie Qiao. Baiji appeared just in time and interrupted him. "I have a physics problem that I don't quite understand. Can you teach me?" She held the test paper in her hands, blinked her almond-shaped round eyes, and pleaded softly. Pekka frowned and said unceremoniously, "I'm sitting right next to you. Why are you asking her? Bring the test paper here. I'll teach you. Don't come to her in the future." He glanced at me and finally retracted his hand. He returned to his seat. Baiji's originally tense face relaxed. She turned to look at me with a complicated expression. After hesitating for a long time, she finally opened her mouth reluctantly and said, "Xie Qiao, if you don't like Pekka, could you please stay away from him? Don't talk to him anymore." My heart suddenly stopped, and a bitter feeling echoed in my chest. I touched my sore nose and forced a smile. "Okay." A look of relief appeared on her face, after giving me a delighted smile. She also turned and left. Wei Qing touched his chin. With a look of watching the drama, he said, "Why do I feel that these two people are a bit strange?" I lowered my eyes. "They do seem quite a match, Wei Qing." "I don't think so." I put away my pen and handed the composition book to him. "Then you have bad eyesight. That's why you wrote house instead of horse. Your house can run, right?" Out of the corner of my eye, the figures of the two of them walked away side by side. A slight bitterness welled up in my heart. Pekka, without my entanglement, you will be able to lead a better life smoothly, And I also have my own path to pursue. 8. Peika got into a fight with others. On the road I must pass on my way home. When I squeezed through the crowd, I saw that he had a bruise on his face, but he had knocked down 5 or 6 hooligans. Baiji stood behind Peiku. Her delicate body couldn't stop shaking. There were still dry tear stains on her frightened face. Some students from the same school beside them exclaimed, "Rescuing the beauty like a hero, so cool. I told you a long time ago that Peiku and Baiji are a couple. You didn't believe it. The CPI ship is real." I was just about to back out of the crowd, but Baiji came over first and took my arm. Her eyes were moist, and she looked up at me pitifully. "Xie Qiao, those people just now pushed me first." I was speechless. In fact, even if she didn't say it, I knew. That's why Peiku fought with them. They already liked each other. How could Peiku bear to see her being bullied? In fact, Baiji didn't need to regard me as a love rival and repeatedly assert her sovereignty. I was just about to find an excuse to leave, but she held my arm even tighter, her delicate and soft body pressed closely against my arm. She wiped the tears that had already dried with her sleeve and said aggrievedly, "Xie Qiao, Peiku fought so fiercely. Will he be violent at home in the future?" 9. What are you two talking about? Peiku came over. There were still some green and purple bruises on his face. Those hooligans had already gotten up and run away. It was already late at night, and the crowd quickly dispersed. Baiji said in a sweet voice, "I was saying, Peiku, thank you for standing up for me today." Peiku lowered his eyes. His gaze quickly swept over me and then awkwardly landed elsewhere. If it wasn't because they said "Xia," his face turned slightly red. Forget it. His wandering gaze landed on the arm that Baiji was holding mine with. His sharp eyebrows furrowed, then he forcefully pulled the person away from me. "Why are you so close to her?" There was undisguised disgust in his words. It was like a dense array of sharp thorns stabbing into my heart, causing pain. I took a step back and distanced myself from them further. "I'm going back now. I'll walk with you," Peiku said eagerly. I raised my eyes and looked at him calmly. "No need. I don't want people to misunderstand." His face turned a little pale. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said, "Xie Qiao, are you in a puppy love with Wei Qing?" I was stunned. During this period, Wei Qing and I had indeed been getting closer. I lowered my head, lowered my eyes, and didn't look at him. "It's none of your business." Then I turned around and left. Only the thick night shrouded and engulfed his lonely figure, leaving behind a pair of gloomy eyes that lost all their color in the dim moonlight. 10. Because of my deliberate estrangement, the relationship between Peiku and me completely cooled down. There is a century-old ancient tree beside the school playground. In summer, its crown is huge, and its branches and leaves are lush, just like in the previous life. 1 week before the college entrance examination, according to tradition, the grade director organized us to write our target universities on pieces of paper and hang them on the branches. I looked at the white piece of paper on the table. The tip of my pen paused for a long time. "Which university do you plan to apply for?" Peika's casual voice suddenly sounded beside me. I raised my eyes, then I saw his cold eyes. With a hint of concentration, he averted his gaze and sneered. There was a touch of disdain between his eyebrows and eyes. "Don't get me wrong. I just don't want to go to the same university as you." The choices in front of Peiku and me were either University A or University B. Peiku still had that arrogant and flippant look on his face, but his hand resting on the edge of the table tightened a bit, and his knuckles turned slightly white. This scene slowly overlapped with the distant memory of the previous life. In the previous life, when I wrote University A on the piece of paper, Peiku said the same thing. It was just that on the rainy night after the college entrance examination, that little hidden feeling in my heart was awakened. When filling out the college application, I somehow chose University B, but for some reason, Peiku went to University A. The next time we met, it was across a street. I watched as Baiji got out of his car, and the two of them walked side by side, so that later, when he and I frequently met in events such as the college debate competition and the Securities Business Cup, his hostility remained undiminished, and I added new hatred, and Baiji stayed by his side from beginning to end, until she graduated from university and went abroad to study. I finally got out of this swamp of inferiority and awkwardness completely, but later, when we were working, Peiku and I joined the same investment bank. Since then, we have been entangled with each other repeatedly. In this life, I still wrote the name of University A on the piece of paper, but in my heart, I made up my mind. I want to stay as far away from Peiku as possible. 11. In the afternoon after the college entrance examination, the thick dark clouds hung low, and the air was humid and stuffy, making people feel breathless. I refused the class graduation party and left the class group. Peiku quickly sent me a message. I blocked him casually, then I walked quickly towards home, fearing that it would suddenly rain heavily. When I opened the door, my grandmother was sitting in front of the TV. Waving a palm leaf fan, there was a suitcase in front of her, which I had packed last night. With my almost oppressive tutoring, Wei Cheng's grades had risen rapidly, especially in English. Wei Cheng's parents were grateful to me and took the initiative to offer to take my grandmother to the UK to treat her old leg injury, and in return, whether Wei Cheng eventually reached the undergraduate admission line or not, I would go to study in the UK with him as an accompanying student. The plane to leave was tonight. A flash of lightning streaked across the sky, briefly illuminating it. The torrential rain poured down. The small Western-style house of Peike's family became blurred in the dense rain lines, together with the memory of that rainy night in the previous life and the image of Peike's somewhat unhappy face when I first met him. They all gradually faded in my mind. Grandma suddenly raised her palm leaf fan and pointed outside the window. Chow chow. Isn't that your classmate? He looks like Xiaoke next door. It's raining so heavily. Quickly let him in and sit down. My heart trembled. I turned my head and just met Peike's wet eyes through the glass window. I opened the door. He was already standing at the door. He was soaked all over, gasping for breath, and staring at me intently. The originally blurred memory swept over me again, violently crashing into my nerves. My voice trembled slightly. What are you doing here? He opened his mouth, and his voice was a bit hoarse, as if suppressing a lot of emotions. Are you leaving? You're going to the UK with Wei Cheng, right? I frowned. Did Wei Cheng tell you? His eyes turned cold. If his family still wants to continue doing business in Hu City, they can't be too disrespectful to the Pei family. Peike's parents were both engaged in politics in Hu City and held high positions. He said eagerly, if you need help, why didn't you come to me? Obviously I suddenly felt a bit powerless. It was as if I had returned to the time when I was 7 years old. I stood in front of the cobweb-covered glass, very far away from Peike, or perhaps it was out of reach. The hand hanging by my side clenched into a fist. What does it have to do with you? Peike, are we that familiar? There was confusion and bewilderment in his eyes, but I clearly dreamed last night that I bit my lip. Peike, you and I are just classmates, competitors. After the college entrance examination, we should go our separate ways and never see each other again in our lives. With his family background and ability, he shouldn't have ended up with an unhappy marriage and died in a car accident with someone he didn't love. I also don't want to be trapped in a painful relationship and a failed marriage for the rest of my life. Peike's face suddenly turned pale. Xie Qiao, do you hate me so much? I forcefully suppressed the choking in my throat and squeezed out the heartless words. Yes, I hate you, so please, don't appear in front of me again. The unruly young man's eyes turned red for the first time. Xie Qiao, it was you who started competing with me first, and it was you who messed up my life first. There was a broken madness in his eyes, and his tone was terrifyingly low. Now you say you want to get rid of me, in your next life. I felt almost sad, but Peike. This is already the next life. 12. Before boarding the plane, I looked at the heavy rain outside with a restless heart. My phone vibrated. I answered the call. Bai Ji's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. Xie Qiao, Peike had a car accident. Can you come and see him? My whole body froze, and my blood seemed to solidify instantly, but I still asked her calmly, is he seriously injured? The doctor said there's no life-threatening danger, just a slight concussion. My heart gradually returned to a normal rhythm. Sorry, I have something urgent to deal with now, so I won't go to see him, but since we were classmates, please help me convey my wishes for his well-being. There was a long silence on the other end before she asked, Xie Qiao, can you not leave? I sighed. Bai Ji, I wish you both a happy life and that you won't miss each other again. Bai Ji on the other end seemed to want to say something else, but I had already hung up the phone. I should go and find my own life. Peike and I might never see each other again in this life. 13. Outside Grandma's ward, Wei Cheng took the bag from my hand and smiled obsequiously. Sister Qiao, take me to have some fun. I've never seen a foreign bar before. The bank card that the Wei family gave to Wei Cheng was in my hand. His expenses were jointly supervised by me and Wei Cheng's parents. It was just to prevent him from indulging in a life of luxury and debauchery abroad and getting involved in bad things. He just reached out his hand, ready to massage my shoulders and back to curry favor with me, but the door of the ward suddenly opened. A strong arm stretched out and pulled me over. A suppressed and cold voice sounded from above my head. Why don't I go with you? My spoken English is also quite good. The world suddenly went silent in my ears. After being stunned for a moment, I looked up. Peike's face was terrifyingly stern. The broken hair on his forehead slightly covered his eyes. His dark eyes, as deep as an abyss, stared at Wei Cheng, exuding a gloom that didn't match his youth. There was also a circle of medical white gauze around his head. and his aura was cold and imposing. Wei Qing was intimidated and quickly waved his hands. No, brother Pei, I just remembered that our cat at home is going to give birth today, so I'll go back first. After saying that, he turned and ran away. I distanced myself from Pei Ke. Why are you here? All the coldness on Pei Ke's body dissipated. There was a trace of almost imperceptible attachment and sadness in his eyes when he looked at me. He naturally took the fruit bag from my hand. What, do you own this hospital? Then he pointed at the white gauze on his head, raised his eyebrows, and said, can't I come to see a doctor? What I didn't expect was that Grandma was very familiar with Pei Ke. While peeling an apple, he would occasionally tell a few embarrassing things about me at school, making the old woman giggle. Finally, when we got out of the ward, I asked him, how do you two know each other? He raised his eyebrows and said jokingly, when you were studying hard at school during the holidays to get the first place, it was me who was fulfilling my filial duties for you. I frowned and said, why didn't I know? Grandma never told me. I asked her not to. I didn't want you to know. My heart suddenly tightened. Then why aren't you hiding it from me now? His gaze fell on me, as if he had fallen into some memory. After a long while, he chuckled and said, because now, I want you to know. 14, since then, Pei Ke has started to circle around me frequently, except when having medical examinations. He seemed to want to stay by my side every step of the way. I looked at his face, wanting to say something but holding back. Could it be that Pei Ke really got his brain damaged? The words Pei Ke said to me on the day I left were also very strange. Now he is like a completely different person. In the past at school, he and I were well-known rivals throughout the school. Could it be that he wants to take revenge on me? Suddenly, I remembered an English speech contest in the city when I was 8 years old. Pei Ke came in second. The TV station interviewed him. At that time, I hadn't heard the classic saying, my dad is times, nor did I understand what it meant to make dumplings just for the vinegar. I just felt it was unfair. So, holding the first place certificate, I casually walked past the live broadcast camera and said, cut, what's there to be proud of for getting second place? I don't know who was crying after losing the game just now. I trampled on his self-esteem in front of everyone. Pei Ke, who was still a little boy, was so angry that his eyes turned red. He choked and threatened me in a childish voice. Xie Qiao, just you wait. Pei Ke and I thus competed for the first half of our lives in the best primary school, junior high school, and high school in Hu City, and later, we were entangled for a short part of the second half of our lives in the country's top universities and the most difficult to enter investment banks. I understood. He must have harbored grudges for too long and couldn't stand the thought of me leaving without a care, so he wants to cling to me like a ghost and disgust me. Finally, when I encountered Pei Ke doing stretches at the door of the ward for the 16th time, I couldn't bear it anymore. I forced a stiff smile and said, Pei Ke, isn't Bai Ji here to accompany you? Is she still in the country? Why don't you bring her over? She can take care of you better. I tried to use Bai Ji to wake up his rationality, which was occupied by revenge, but I didn't know which word had stimulated him. Pei Ke's voice rose a few decibels in a hurry. Why are you asking about her? I wasn't sure if it was my illusion. Every time something related to Bai Ji came up, Pei Ke would lose his composure. I'm not the vicious female supporting character in novels who is bent on persecuting the innocent little white flower. Is it really necessary to guard against me like this? I felt a bit uncomfortable. A faint sourness spread from the bottom of my heart. Pei Ke still had his brows tightly knitted. Don't mention her again in the future, I said faintly. Okay. He still wasn't at ease and paced back and forth anxiously. I should say, don't even think about her, let me tell you. Bai Ji is not a good person. She may seem pure and innocent on the surface, but it's all an act. She has a lot of bad intentions behind her back. Pei Ke gritted his back teeth. You should have less contact with her in the future. No, it's best not to have any contact with her. Me, he continued, and that kid Wei Qing, he looks sly and evil. Today he dares to take you to a bar, and tomorrow he dares to take you to kill and set fires. You have good grades and a bright future. Don't hang out with him. I was so angry that I laughed. What about you then? He was stunned for a moment, then he straightened his back and said confidently and coolly, how can I be the same as them? I'm good looking, have good grades, am in good health, am positive and motivated, have a healthy mind, am sincere, have strong working abilities, can make money, and can support a family. From the first time we met in the UK, I felt that Pei Ke seemed a bit different from before. Probably, he was more shameless. Standing with you, we are a perfect match, a golden couple, a match made in heaven. A gentle breeze blew by. Outside the glass window at the end of the corridor, the green branches of the summer oak swayed gently. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Pei Ke secretly glanced at me. Then he continued to chatter. When you enter society in the future and see all those strange-looking people, you'll find that someone like me is hard to find even with a lantern. His face turned slightly red. He bent down to look me in the eye, with a smile still on his lips. So, would you like to consider me? In Peika's clear eyes with a smile, I saw myself, who was stunned. The beating of my heart suddenly accelerated, but clearly, in that car accident in the previous life, the last words he said to me were, "Xie Qiao. In the next life, let's not be husband and wife anymore." My whole body felt as if it had been drenched in cold water, and a sense of coolness rose. So, I blurted out, "Are you crazy? What about Bai Ji?" The faint smile on Peika's face froze. The corners of his mouth slowly dropped, pursing into a cold and hard straight line, while the corners of his eyes turned slightly red. "Wei Qing, Bai Ji, or is it that anyone except me is okay? Xie Qiao, you really have no conscience, obviously. It's been me who has been by your side for all these years. Why, all of a sudden, are you looking at others?" 15. Peika didn't pester me anymore. I didn't even see him for several days, but the words he said kept swirling in my mind, making my thoughts jumbled. In fact, in the previous life, Peiku was indeed an excellent husband. He was considerate, family-oriented, and had a strong sense of responsibility. He would remember to prepare surprises on every anniversary and pay attention to every detail in life. He was also very good to me. If it hadn't been for that scene in the jewelry store, if I hadn't discovered their occasional phone calls behind my back, if I hadn't seen the evasion in his eyes when I asked about Bai Ji, this marriage was originally the result of impulsive passion, with a bit of my hidden selfishness mixed in. In the end, its breakdown was also reasonable. 16. I cooked porridge in the rented house and prepared to take it to the hospital. Just as I entered the alley, a dull sound of footsteps came from behind. The pungent smell of ether rushed into my nostrils, the thermos bucket fell to the ground, and I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a bumpy and shaking pickup truck. My hands were tied behind my back with a hemp rope, and beside me sat Bai Ji, looking extremely scared. "Bai Ji, why are you here?" Her delicate voice trembled a bit. "I came to the UK to find Peiku. As soon as I got off the plane, I was kidnapped by them. What should we do? Xie Qiao, I'm so scared." The kidnapper driving the car turned his head. He had a fleshy face and was a Chinese. He took a puff of cigarette and said fiercely, "Shut up, you two." I remained calm and asked him, "Brother, we shouldn't have any grudges against you. Why did you kidnap us?" He laughed, his fleshy face twitching slightly, and his eyes glinted. "I don't have any grudges against you too, but I have some grudges with the Pei family. I heard that the only son of the Pei family is in the UK now. There are people watching him, so it's not easy for me to get close to him, so I had to kidnap you too. Both of you seem to have some connection with that kid. Let's see who he comes to exchange for. 1 for 1. As for the other one," he turned cold-faced and made a throat-slitting gesture, then didn't say anything more. My mind started to spin wildly. Since the Pei family was engaged in politics, it was not impossible for them to provoke some desperate people. Bai Ji and I were innocent victims. My hands tied behind my back quietly turned. The rope wasn't tight, which meant he wasn't a professional kidnapper, just seeking personal revenge. He locked us in an abandoned factory, then he locked the door and left. Because of fear, Bai Ji stuck very close to me. Her voice also took on a sobbing tone. "Xie Qiao, what should we do? Will he kill us?" As I twisted my wrists, I comforted her. "Don't worry, his target is Peiku, not us. But he just said something about 1 for 1, and the other one will. Bai Ji started to sob softly. "Xie Qiao, do you think Peiku will come to save me? I'm so scared." My heart suddenly sank for a moment. Choose me, or choose Bai Ji, or perhaps, choose neither. But I don't want to be anyone's option. The restraint on my wrist was completely loosened. I've untied it. I showed a relaxed smile. Then, under Bai Ji's stunned expression, I quickly untied the rope that bound her. I was just about to sit up, but a rattling sound of chains came from outside the door. Soon, the iron door was kicked open. I also resumed the bound posture. Peiku, wearing a hospital gown, was pushed in by the kidnapper. His hands were bound with chains, his eyes were blindfolded, and a cloth ball was stuffed in his mouth. He was pushed down beside me. The kidnapper grinned. "This kid really has deep feelings. He really came to exchange himself for you. He's a real man, I won't lie to you." He lifted Bai Ji's chin. "You're Bai Ji, right? I'll let you go. As for the other one," he glanced at me sideways and sneered, "can only consider herself unlucky." Under the kidnapper's threat, a faint sound of chains hitting the ground reached my ears. I suddenly felt dazed. In front of my eyes, Peika's gentle and helpless face from the previous life seemed to emerge again. "Xie Qiao, why do you act like this whenever you're angry? You ignore me and don't listen to me either. Then how about this? He bent his fingers and tapped a rhythm on the table. This is, I am sorry, Morse code. How about it? I just learned it. Ironically, I also went to learn it, and now, naturally, I also understood what he wanted to say at the moment. Don't be afraid, I called the police. The moment the kidnapper squatted down to untie Baiji, I wrapped the rope in my hand around his neck. My strength was no match for that of an adult male. After forcefully pulling the person down, I pulled Baiji and ran out with all my might, then locked the door. 17. The scorching sun baked the overgrown wasteland. I don't know how long we ran until Baiji let out a cry of pain from behind. She sprained her ankle. I squatted down. Come on, I'll carry you. She was stunned and called my name blankly. Xie Qiao. I frowned. We have to at least run to the road. Peiku has called the police. You'll be safe when you see the police. Hurry up. Under my urging, she climbed onto my back. Baiji was petite, but she still put a lot of pressure on me. She wiped the sweat from my face and then obediently wrapped her arms around my neck. Xie Qiao. Baiji's voice was very soft. Clearly, it was close to my ear, but it seemed to float from far away in the sky. To conserve my strength, I didn't respond to her. She still kept talking to herself. Do you remember? You said that girls must be brave. The more difficult the situation, the braver they should be. There was a bit of choking in her voice. I'm sorry, I didn't do it. I was stunned. My thoughts were gently stirred, and a blurred figure emerged, a little girl in a white dress, holding a teddy bear, hiding behind the fence of my house. She looked into the distance while crying. At that time, she asked me while crying, Sister, is it because I'm not obedient that my dad doesn't want me anymore? Yes. Is it because I'm destined to have a hard life that my father died in an accident and my mother left me behind and never came back to see me again? I resented and hated, but it was all in vain. I could only say to her, if he doesn't want you, you don't want him either. You're a girl, so you have to be braver. Do you understand? The more difficult the situation, the braver you should be. Precisely because I had nothing, I had to work desperately hard to stay away from those hardships and try my best to draw in vitality. Coming back to my senses, I hesitated and said, Are you, that little girl? You still remember me? That's great. She buried her face in my neck. Xie Qiao, come with me. Peiku doesn't want you. Let's not want him either. Okay. You need money. I can give it to you too. My mother left me a trust. I'm an adult now and have received it. Come with me, please. Xie Qiao. A wetness spread across my shoulder. Finally, we reached the side of the road. I put her down. Sorry, Baiji, I can't go with you. I have to go back. She suddenly grabbed my sleeve. Xie Qiao. I pulled her hand away. Don't worry about me. I'm just going to buy him some time. When the police come, we'll all be saved. Baiji, I can't leave Peiku there alone. He'll die. The moment he tapped out the Morse code, I knew that Peiku had also been reborn. Along the way, I thought a lot. Even if I was slow-witted, I should have understood that there seemed to be too many misunderstandings between Peiku and me. But misunderstandings could only be cleared up if we were alive. He had already died once in front of me. I couldn't watch him die again. 18. When I returned to that abandoned warehouse, I just saw the kidnapper's stick landing on Peiku's calf. When he raised his arm again, the nerve of rationality suddenly snapped. I picked up a piece of scrap wood nearby and rushed over, blocking in front of Peiku. Don't touch him, a shrill female voice sounded from behind. The kidnapper's hand that was raising the iron rod stopped in mid-air. I've already had someone pay off your daughter's medical expenses. The surgery will be tomorrow. He called the police. The police will be here soon. You can go. The kidnapper was slightly stunned and put away the ferocity on his face. After throwing the stick on the ground, he fled the warehouse in a hurry. I looked at Baiji, who was limping towards us not far away, with a complicated mood. Peiku's eyes darkened. Why? Baiji smiled and looked at him coldly. You're asking me why? Don't you know how much I hate you, brother? My pupils shrank slightly. Peiku and Baiji were siblings. Baiji's voice was filled with crazy hatred. The son of a mistress is actually a month older than me. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Tell me, shouldn't I hate him? It's you who made my mother die of depression and my family fall apart. Shouldn't I hate you? She tightly grasped Peiku's collar. The delicate appearance she usually had faded completely, leaving only indifference. Peiku looked up, his eyes dark and his voice as cold as if quenched in ice. I told you. My mother didn't know about it at that time. She was also a victim. Their marriage had been in name only since she knew about your existence. Then since she knew, why didn't she get a divorce? Why didn't she expose that hypocrite? Peiku was stunned, his Adam's apple rolling. It took him a long time to say hoarsely, it's a political marriage. It's not as simple as you think. A hint of sarcasm played on the corner of Baiji's mouth. extremely hypocritical. Peiku endured the pain with his brows tightly furrowed. Baiji, what on earth do you want to do? Didn't we make things clear a long time ago? I've been taking care of you as a sister all these years. Why are you going crazy all of a sudden? An almost painful sorrow welled up on Baiji's face, and tears streamed down. Because I hate you, Peiku. Why do you have everything since you were born? Why do you have to take everything away from me? You took away my father and drove my mother to death. Why do you even have to take away the person I like? Baiji seemed to have lost all support and fell to the ground, like a gardenia flower blown apart. Her voice was broken and she sobbed uncontrollably. Why did you take her away and then not keep your promise to protect her? You promised me. Baiji raised her eyes, and the hatred in her eyes surged to the extreme. If you die, then die. Why do you have to implicate her? Why? The air suddenly fell silent. Peika's anger froze on his face, as if it had been forcefully shattered and finally scattered bit by bit. The musty and damp smell of dust covered the nose and mouth, blocking the throat, making it impossible to make the slightest sound. It took me a long time to find my lost voice and said hoarsely, Baiji. Her back suddenly stiffened, her shoulders trembled slightly, but she didn't turn around. I suddenly remembered, she seemed to have called me Xie Qiao many times. The blurred figures in my memory began to become clear one by one. Over more than 20 years, the years have been long. The girl beside Peiku, her gaze, from beginning to end, had actually been on me, but it wasn't until the sound of police sirens came closer and closer, resounding through this empty and dark space. The policemen with guns passed by me one after another. She still didn't turn around and look at me. 19. After leaving the police station, I returned to the hospital. As soon as I stepped into the ward, a gaze immediately fell on me. In the suffocating silence, I was the first to speak. I didn't accuse Baiji. Peika's gaze carefully landed on my face. Then I won't accuse her either. I glanced at his bleeding wound. You are the victim. This is your right. Peika shook his head, his eyes slightly red, and explained to me. I exchanged myself for you, not Baiji. His throat rolled, and it took him a long time to say dryly, because I like you. I've liked you since the first time I saw you. That's why I wanted to give you my favorite cookies, and that's why I studied desperately to make you notice me. On the day of the accident, I bought a ring. I always thought that I should make up a proposal ceremony for you. I've liked you for a long, long time, Xie Qiao. It's been so long that I thought I would always be by your side. And I even forgot that I should have said I liked you first. Peika looked like he was about to cry. There was a pleading look in his eyes as he looked at me. Xie Qiao, don't stay silent, I said helplessly. Didn't you say that we shouldn't be husband and wife in the next life? In his moist eyes, the light shattered inch by inch. He was like a criminal who had been sentenced to death. His pale lips trembled slightly. He pulled out a bitter smile. I just felt that you weren't happy. It seems that no matter what I do, you're not happy when you're with me. He blinked his confused eyes and said despairingly, Xie Qiao, should I let go? But I've known you since I was 7 years old. I can't even accept you leaving my sight. Yes, I wasn't happy. A person full of suspicion is like walking through the thorns in the dark night, looking back and forth, always living in fear. It's impossible to truly be happy, in love. Honesty is freedom. Peiku is an awkward person. And perhaps I am even more so. I held the thing in my hand, and my palm felt a little hot, but I still said firmly, reach out. He was slightly stunned and opened his palm. A silver ring that seemed to be wrapped in the moonlight fell into his palm. This was my answer. I like you too. Baiji's exclusive side story. I have someone whom I've liked for many years. I've seen her speak vigorously under the national flag. I've seen her confidence as she handled the competition projects with ease. I've also seen the way she smiled when receiving awards at the sports meeting. Her ponytail was tied high, like an unyielding flag, warm, bright, like the sun. She is the only remaining sun in my life, but she seems to have never seen me. So, I'm jealous of the place where her gaze lands, yet I can't help but get closer to that place, even if I can only steal a glimpse of her out of the corner of her eye. The person I like is named Xie Qiao. She is the most radiant and brave person in the world. But on the day she died, it happened to be a rainy day. I stood in that heavy rain for a long time, then I went home and filled a bathtub with warm water for myself. The bright red blood wound its way from my wrist into the calm water surface. It was like cinnabar fading away and the afterglow dissipating, but I didn't feel cold. I seemed to hear Xie Qiao's voice. She called me with a smile. Baiji. Her voice was a bit awkward. I didn't have a deep impression of her. Suddenly, I laughed. I almost forgot. The person I like has never called my name. Side story of the three of them. When Peika casually mentioned a certain college boy, he didn't seem to care much, but in fact, he was almost crushing the cup in his hand. Me, what college boy? He looked up and gave me a resentful look, his gaze then drifted elsewhere. You know, the one from the aquarium. He couldn't help but mutter in a low voice. Is he as handsome as me? Is he as tall as me? Can he take care of people as well as I can? Can he make money like I can? Is he as good to you as I am? Is he? Stop it. You even called him a chubby guy when you met last time. I suspect that Peiku is hostile to any dog that gets close to me. Peiku, the chubby guy. Oh, he's my nephew. Someone finally smiled, the corners of his mouth lifting. You should have said so earlier. Next time, invite my nephew over to play. I'll take him to the aquarium. Someone's tail almost went up to the sky. But it was quickly brought down by a rapid knock on the door. Peiku's face darkened. A clear female voice came from outside the door. Sister-in-law, open the door. It's me, your brother. Story 2. My brother bullied Zhou Linson, deafening him and causing the death of his mother. 10 years later, the impoverished academic overachiever became a business tycoon, took everything from my brother, and kept me as his caged canary. My brother took me and fled abroad. I thought I was finally free. But my brother imprisoned and abused me, starving me. He recorded videos of the abuse and sent them to Zhou Linson, extorting 3 billion from him. After getting the money, my brother callously handed me over to a group of vagrants, and I died from the torment. The man I loathed like a viper killed those who hurt me and beheaded my brother. Covered in blood, he held my body and cried, "Don't be afraid. I've come to take you home." Reborn at 18, I vowed to seek revenge and to save him. 01. After being reborn, I went to find Zhou Linson and saw Xinyao, my fraternal twin brother, bullying him with his friends. Xinyao, who appeared as a perfect student in front of teachers and parents, was actually malicious and extremely envious. He bullied Zhou Linson simply because Zhou's presence meant he could only be second best. Xinyao, wielding a baseball bat, smashed up a wonton shop, laughing arrogantly. "I want you out of Jialan High School and out of the capital." Did you take my words for wind? At that moment, Xinyao didn't know, the poor academic genius he was wantonly bullying would years later become a business mogul, stripping Xinyao of everything and imprisoning me as his canary. Zhou Linson's mother was mute and not quite mentally stable. She was scared into tears. Xinyao sneered. Look, his mom had her tongue cut out, probably messed with someone else's husband, bore an illegitimate child, and got taught a lesson by the wife, a pair of lowlifes. Suddenly, the normally restrained Zhou Linson rushed over, tackled Xinyao to the ground, and started punching him in the face. Xinyao, a taekwondo expert who usually only dished out beatings, was unexpectedly overpowered by Zhou Linson, with a fierce look in his eyes. Zhou seemed like a desperado who had killed before. "What are you all waiting for? Pull him off me." Xinyao's friends were intimidated by Zhou Linson's aura, and none dared to intervene. It wasn't until Xinyao spat blood that Zhou Linson let him go. "Get out of my shop." Zhou Linson then went to comfort his mother, who was crying like a child, with gentle patience. Staggering to his feet, Xinyao picked up the baseball bat, his eyes filled with venom, and swung it toward the back of Zhou Linson's head. "Watch out behind you," I screamed hysterically. Zhou Linson reacted just in time, grabbing the baseball bat. My heart pounded like a drum. In my previous life, Zhou Linson was hit in the head with a baseball bat by Xinyao, resulting in deafness. Thankfully, I prevented it this time. Zhou Linson wrested the baseball bat from Xinyao's hands, eyes blazing with rage, and swung it at him. Because of my intervention, the course of events changed dramatically. I rushed forward, spreading my arms to shield Xinyao. "Zhou Linson, stop." The baseball bat halted just in front of my forehead. Our eyes met, and I remembered how Zhou Linson had imprisoned me in my past life. In the days when he was like a canary, at night, he kissed me madly, his knees parting my legs, acting recklessly. I couldn't endure his unrestrained demands and begged him to be gentler. Zhou Linson simply removed his cochlear implant, refusing to listen to me, and did as he pleased according to his own desires. All I could do was helplessly scratch his back with my nails. He enjoyed that, getting even more excited. The man kissed away my tears, chuckling, and said, "Doing it so many times each day, how can you still not handle it? Still so tight, Zhang." Because his technique was terribly poor, yet his desires were heavy. Day by day, with relentless energy, those memories seeped deep into my bones, making me instinctively take a step back. Zhou Linson stared straight at me, his dark eyes trembling. Then he put down the baseball bat. He grabbed my wrist and drew me close to him, saying coldly, "Shen Huiyan, you really do protect your brother." I winced in pain, drawing in a breath of cold air. Zhou Linson noticed my reaction, rolled up my sleeve, and saw my arm covered in bleeding whip marks. He pulled open my collar. My back was also scarred. Zhou Linson's eyes turned blood red. His anger even more intense than when he himself was bullied by Xinyao, bordering on panic. Who did this? It was then that I confirmed I had really been reborn. I stared at him blankly, thinking he had scared me. He softened his voice and asked, Shen Huiyan, tell me, who was it? Xinyao pushed Zhou Linchen away. Don't touch my sister. Zhou Linchen grabbed Xinyao's shoulder, twisted his arm behind his back, and hissed, was it you? Until Zhou Linchen saw that Xinyao's collar also concealed whip marks. None of your business, get lost. Xinyao shook him off and led me away. I looked back to see Zhou Linchen clenching his fists, his eyes filled with pain and rage. Zhou Linchen, this time, I will stand by your side. 03. On this day in my last life, my brother caused Zhou Linchen's ears to go deaf. Zhou Linchen refused to reconcile, insisting on suing Xinyao. Sister, Zhou Linchen is a perverted scum. He was taking upskirt photos of Zhang Xiaoyun, and I was just teaching him a lesson for her. I didn't mean to deafen him, it was all an accident. I don't want to go to jail. Sister, can you help me talk to him? Ask him to let me go. Zhang Xiaoyun is my best friend. She had a crush on my brother and helped him with his lies. I believed them and went to the hospital to find Zhou Linchen. In the hospital room, Zhou Linchen's head was wrapped in bandages, his face pale. Even in sleep his brows were furrowed with discomfort. Putting myself in the shoes of someone who had been deafened, I felt very sorry for him. Moreover, with the college entrance exams coming up, and the 30 points for the English listening section out of his reach, originally, with his grades, he was likely to be the top scorer of our province in the college entrance examination. I realized that asking Zhou Linchen to drop the lawsuit was a very selfish and despicable act. I turned around and left. He woke up. Come here. I walked over to the hospital bed, nervously fiddling with the panda pendant on my bag. After hesitating, I took out a bank card and wrote on a piece of paper, Zhou Linchen, there are 300,000 yuan on this card. It's the New Year's money I've saved. Take it and get a cochlear implant. Zhou Linchen read the note and smiled. That's not enough. I wrote another note. What else do you want? Suddenly, Zhou Linchen's expression turned wild. He pulled me onto the bed, pinned me down, and kissed me passionately. I struggled. He lifted my hands above my head, holding my wrists, deepening the kiss, our lips and tongues entwined, unleashing his desire. He was like a madman. I started crying out of fear. Zhou Linchen looked up at me, his eyes red, even though he was the one tormenting me. His eyes looked incredibly sad. Blood seeped through the bandages. A drop of blood fell along his eyelashes, like a tear of blood, landing on my cheek. His smile was grotesque. What did your brother tell you? That I took secret photos of classmates, that he's the hero who fights evil, and I'm the despicable pervert. Yes, I'm a pervert. Do you feel it? I'm aroused. I want you. Breathing heavily, I slowly said in sign language, spare my brother. Do whatever you want with me. Zhou Linchen looked at me incredulously, then let me go and shouted in collapse, get out, just go. I ran out of the hospital room, realizing the bank card was still in my pocket. He didn't take my 300,000 yuan but took my panda pendant. Zhou Linchen dropped the lawsuit. We were classmates, and after he recovered, he returned to class. He couldn't hear the teacher and had to study on his own. I avoided talking to him, dodging him every day. When the monthly test results came out, I was the first to check Zhou Linchen's scores. He scored 0 in the listening portion of English, but he had compensated by scoring higher in other subjects. He still ranked first. I was happy for him. My brother ranked second, and I was ninth. My father demanded that we siblings must always be first. Every time we lost to Zhou Linchen, he would abuse us. We knelt in the study. My father whipped us furiously with a leather whip. You have the best resources, tutors, extra classes, and yet you still can't beat a poor kid who has to work multiple jobs. Zhou Linchen is deaf, and you still lose to him. Useless idiots. Trash. The whip burned our skin, but my father's insults hurt even more. Xinyao released his hatred on Zhou Linchen, committing atrocious acts that ultimately ruined Zhou Linchen's life. Zhou Linchen's mother was a college student who had been abducted to the mountains. Her tongue had been cut off by Zhou Linchen's biological father, Wang Guishan. Wang Guishan chained her in a room, raped her, and tortured her to the point of mental breakdown. She gave birth to Zhou Linchen. At the age of 10, Zhou Linchen escaped the mountains with his mother. Despite the harsh environment, he bravely protected his mother. Xinyao found Wang Guishan and gave him the address where Zhou Linchen and his mother lived. Wang Guishan led his relatives to the wonton shop to apprehend them. Seeing Wang Guishan, Zhou Linchen's mother panicked and ran into the road, where she was hit and killed by an oncoming truck. The accident happened the day before the college entrance examination. I was in the same examination hall as Zhou Linchen and noticed his empty seat. Wondering why he hadn't come, Shen Yao and I both performed well on the exam, and my father held a celebration banquet at a 5-star hotel. I was dressed in a gown and high heels, with my hair styled and makeup done, joyfully embracing my new life as an adult. Shen Huiyan, Zhou Linson, dressed as a waiter, looked me up and down and said with a smile, "You look beautiful." I was scared of him and ran away, lifting my dress. Something felt off, he couldn't hear. And this hotel wouldn't hire him as a waiter. What was he planning by sneaking in? I looked back. Zhou Linson was still standing there watching me. I ran up to him and started unbuttoning his jacket to check for weapons. He spread his hands, letting me search him, and laughed. "You act like a good girl, but you're actually quite bold." Zhou Linson grabbed my arm and pulled me into his embrace. He held me tightly by the back of my neck. "Your brother, he made me deaf and killed my mother. I will come back for revenge." Shen Huiyan, don't be afraid. I didn't come here for revenge today. I came to see you. You've grown up, and you really are very beautiful. My eyes welled up with tears, but I gathered the courage to hug him tightly, knowing he couldn't hear me. I revealed a secret I had kept in my heart. At the opening ceremony in the first year of high school, when you gave a speech representing the new students, I thought you were so handsome from where I sat. Zhou Linson, I had a crush on you, even though no matter how hard I tried, I could never outperform you. And my father would abuse me for it. I still, secretly liked you for a very long time, but my brother is more important. I didn't stand by your side. I'm sorry, you must hate me. 05. When we met again, it was 10 years later. Zhou Linson had become a formidable figure in the business world, ruthlessly seeking revenge on Shen Yao. Shen Yao was never a match for Zhou Linson in school, nor was he a match for him in the business world. Shen Yao's defeat seemed inevitable. Zhou Linson drove Shen Yao to bankruptcy, leaving him penniless and deeply in debt, with no hope of recovery in this lifetime. I watched as he fell from grace, sinking into despair and degradation, and I, too, was punished for my selfish actions back then, becoming Zhou Linson's caged canary. At 28, Zhou Linson was a madman, suffering from severe irritability and unable to sleep through the night. He said he could only sleep while holding me. Thus, he built a lavish villa to imprison me. Zhou Linson, how is what you're doing any different from what Wang Guishan did to your mother? Zhou Linson revealed that kind of smile that was uglier than crying. You're right, I was born a rapist's spawn, with filthy, disgusting blood coursing through my veins. Shen Huiyan, but saying this to me hurts more than stabbing me. You might as well just stab me. Overwhelmed by his emotions, he grabbed a fruit knife from the table and placed it in my hands. Then, gripping my hand, he directed it towards his own chest. The tip of the knife pierced his white shirt, and blood flowed out. Don't do this, you're not that bad. Zhou Linson, stop. I don't want you to get hurt. Eventually, he calmed down and let go of my hand. I was so scared that I was sweating profusely, and the knife fell to the ground. Frantically, I unbuttoned his shirt to check the wound. He was well built, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, his muscles well defined. He had a beautiful body, but that beautiful body was covered in scars. He had suffered a lot to get to where he was today. He was not happy. A trace of pleasure crossed Zhou Linson's eyes. Shen Huiyan, this is the second time you've unbuttoned my shirt. He pointed to his cochlear implant. I can hear now. Tell me, what did you say in my arms when we parted all those years ago? My forehead rested against his shoulder, and for some reason, I felt incredibly sad. In this life, the barrier between us was his mother's death. We could never truly be together. Back then I said, I hate you. Of all the people in the world, I hate you the most. Zhou Linson pulled me into his embrace, holding me so tightly it hurt. I hate you the most too. Shen Huiyan, he buried his face in the nape of my neck. You have to die beside me, or let me die beside you. Let it be me who dies beside you, and you can scatter my ashes. I died soon after, but I didn't get to die beside him. 06, Shen Yao took me abroad, thinking I was finally free, but he imprisoned me, abused me, and starved me. The look on Shen Yao's face when he hit me was terrifying. More deranged than my domestically abusive father. He grabbed my hair and smashed my head against the aquarium. The aquarium shattered, and I was covered in blood, collapsing onto the glass shards. Watching the fish struggling to death beside me, I felt as helpless as they were. I finally found a way to get back at Zhou Linson. He wanted to win over Zhou Linson and had become delusional. It's you, my dear sister. He's been obsessively in love with you since high school. Torturing you will hurt him, ha ha ha. Shen Yao recorded videos of his abuse and sent them to Zhou Linson, extorting 3 billion from him. Despite risking his financial stability, Zhou Linson gathered the money. After getting the money, Shen Yao turned around and handed me over to a group of vagrants to torment. I was tortured to death. Zhou Linson, whom I despised, crossed oceans to kill all those who had harmed me, and beheaded Xin Yao. Covered in blood, Zhou Linchen cradled my corpse. Covering my eyes, he cried. The man who was beaten deaf by Xin Yao, who had never cried before, wept inconsolably. Zhou Linchen let out an inhuman roar. In the end, he said, Shen Huiyan, don't be afraid, I'm here to take you home. The memories abruptly stopped. 07, having been reborn. I successfully prevented the incident where Zhou Linchen was deafened by Xin Yao. The next thing I needed to do was to stop his mother's death. I visited Zhou Linchen's family wonton shop again, which required passing through a narrow alley. In the alley, there were 3 dubious-looking young men. Look, a real beauty, she has a great figure, such a slim waist, and such fair skin. They eyed me with ill intentions and whistled at me. They reminded me of the vagrants who raped me in my previous life, the foul and sticky bodily fluids, the brutal beatings, the tearing pain. I didn't want to die, but no one came to save me. I had a stress reaction, my breathing became rapid, and my body stiffened. Beauty, let's exchange WeChat contacts. I clenched my fists and refused. No, I won't add you. Looking down on us, we really should have some fun with you. What fun? Have it with me. Zhou Linchen suddenly appeared, standing in front of me. His broad shoulders shielded me completely, giving me a sense of security. The young men seemed to be afraid of him. Chen. Is she your girl? Sorry for offending your lady. Hello. Ma'am, get lost. Alright, we're going. They ran off. Zhou Linchen still hadn't turned around. I rushed over and hugged him tightly from behind, burying my face in his back. His body stiffened, immobile. I trembled, tears flowing uncontrollably. Shen Huiyan, don't be afraid, I'm here. Shall I bring them back and beat them up in front of you? Next time you see them, help me beat them up, okay? Zhou Linchen anxiously asked, can you stop crying then? Let me cry for 5 more minutes, okay? But once the tears started, it was hard to stop them. I hugged him and cried for 5 minutes, and then another 5 minutes. It seemed I needed to turn all the grievances of my past life into tears. I only stopped when his back was soaked. I want to eat your family's wontons. Alright, have 2 bowls. My tears turned into laughter. It turned out he was really afraid of seeing me cry, except when I cried in bed. 08, Zhou Linchen's mother, Sun Lan, greeted me with a gentle smile. Hearing that I wanted wontons, she sent Zhou Linchen off to buy groceries with a note of discontent. Rarely do classmates visit our home, buy good ingredients to treat them. This boy is cold on the outside but dull on the inside, no wonder he has no friends. Auntie's note made me laugh. I went grocery shopping with Zhou Linchen. My mom is just like anyone else as long as she's not agitated. Don't be scared of her. I'm not. Your mom is fun. I like her. He suddenly asked, is it your dad who abuses you? Zhou Linchen's chest heaved as he spoke angrily. Don't just stand there and take it next time. If he hits you again, make a scene, make it so loud that all the relatives know. Call the police. Contact the Women's Federation. Let him understand that there's a price to pay for hitting you. I smiled at him. Yeah, next time I'll fight back. His anger intensified. How can Xin Yao just flip between white and black? You're so gentle and adorable. Why would he hit you? All the reasons are just excuses for him to exercise violence. To feel the taste of power through it. He's addicted to the violence. If he doesn't change his ways, just call me and I'll beat him up. I stepped on Zhou Linchen's shadow. Basking in the warm spring sunlight, the day I died was too cold. I loved basking in the sun. I smiled and replied, alright. Zhou Linchen was truly skilled at getting things done, his hands full of plastic bags. He wouldn't let me carry anything and bought me a stick of candied hawthorn to enjoy slowly. He tied on an apron and bustled around the kitchen, managing 2 pots at once, and within half an hour, he had prepared 5 dishes and a soup. Sun Lan handed me a note. He can do everything. Loves to take charge and manage everything. I knew, he had a strong desire to control. When I was his canary, my clothes, jewelry, bags, and watches were all personally bought and matched by him. The 3 of us sat down to eat together. I realized that he had cooked all my favorite dishes. Had he noticed what I liked when I ate in the cafeteria? A crush is one person's chaos. In our past life, it was actually a mutual crush. If not for some misunderstandings, could our ending have been different? 09, returning to campus once again. At this time in my past life, the class was reshuffling seats, and I was supposed to sit next to Zhou Linchen, but I didn't want to sit with him, so I went to the teacher to change seats. This time, I happily sat next to Zhou Linchen. I smiled at him, eyes curving in delight. Deskmate, good morning. Zhou Linchen looked at me with clear eyes and said, good morning. Less than a minute after I sat down, students from other classes came to give me gifts. Today was my 18th birthday. I don't accept gifts, nor letters, thank you. I politely smiled, rejecting each one. Friends gathered around me, laughing and joking. Our Yen Yen truly deserves to be the school beauty. Every year so many people come to give gifts on her birthday. This is the annual confession day, one of the honors for the boys. To have chased the school beauty, ha ha ha, sounds like you're just sour. They were my best friends during high school. After graduation, we went our separate ways and seldom kept in touch. Seeing the girls from my memories once again, I was very happy and started horsing around with them. The roughhousing escalated until the tomboy among them pushed me hard, sending me crashing into Zhou Linchen. Zhou Linchen caught me, and I ended up sitting on his lap. Surprisingly, he looked shocked. His arms wrapped around my waist, his pupils dilated. I was stunned. I'm hard. I want you, inappropriately. I recalled he had said this in a past life. I immediately stood up, my cheeks burning, and sat back down in my seat. I didn't catch a word of what my friends were joking about. Zhou Linchen kept his head down, writing on his test paper, not looking at me again, but my attention was always on him. He was in my peripheral vision. Xinyao had rented out a bar for his birthday, inviting many friends. I used 300,000 yuan of my New Year's money to buy Xinyao a watch. The watch was modified, equipped with a listening device. Although in the last life, Wang Guishan only approached Zhou Linchen and his mother the day before the college entrance examination, I couldn't be sure what would happen this time around. I needed to monitor Xinyao, to keep tabs on when he would meet Wang Guishan. Bro, this is my gift for your coming of age. I spent all my savings on it. I want you to wear it every day. Xinyao immediately put on the watch, patted my head, and smiled indulgently. All right. Everyone cheered. True twins, such a strong bond. I wish I had a sister like Huiyin, so soft and sweet, so kind and considerate. Xinyao put his arm around my shoulder. You guys can't envy this. Yen Yen is mine. At that moment, Zhou Linchen, dressed as a waiter, came to serve drinks. He saw Xinyao's hand on my shoulder, his eyes darkening. Xinyao had chosen this location on purpose. He wanted to humiliate Zhou Linchen. Zhou Linchen, is that you? How much do you earn per hour working here? Zhou Linchen didn't answer. The boy next to him quickly said, Mr. Shen, we earn 25 yuan an hour. Xinyao's close friends burst into sharp laughter. Ha ha ha, 25. That's not even enough to buy me a pack of cigarettes. Zhou Linchen, here's 1,000 yuan. Finish this bottle of foreign wine. Wish us a happy birthday, and then you can leave. I thought Zhou Linchen would refuse. He picked up the bottle and drank. I tried to stop him, but Xinyao grabbed my arm. Sister, I didn't force him. He's just desperately trying to earn that 1,000 yuan. After Zhou Linchen finished the drink, he looked at me and said, Shen Huiyan, happy birthday, thank you. After Zhou Linchen left, Xinyao immediately went outside to make a phone call. Something felt off, so I put on my earphones to listen in on his call. Zhou Linchen is drunk. Ambush him in the alley he has to pass on his way home. Take him down for me. I immediately left the bar through the back door and caught up with Zhou Linchen. Zhou Linchen, Xinyao has hired thugs to beat you up. Zhou Linchen, resembling his mother, had a beautiful face, a young man with broad shoulders, slender waist, long legs, dressed in black, his skin very pale. No matter where he stood, he was strikingly conspicuous. The night was truly beautiful. Zhou Linchen's eyes were slightly blurred from the alcohol, but when he looked at me, his gaze was always intense. He never concealed his desires. Are you drunk? Just moments ago. Zhou Linchen was able to walk, but suddenly, he toppled towards me. I immediately caught him, and we embraced tightly. Yes, I'm drunk. He was so tall that holding him was a bit of a struggle. Why did you drink that bottle of wine? If I hadn't, Xinyao would have been relentless. I didn't want to spoil your birthday. What about my birthday present? Zhou Linchen's chin rested on my shoulder, his warm breath tickling my sensitive ear. You lack nothing material. I couldn't give you anything better. I compiled a set of review materials and predictions based on previous year's college entrance exam papers and sent them to your email. I laughed. Actually, for a senior high student like me, this gift was the most practical. Thank you, top student, for sharing your secret techniques with me. Zhou Linchen patted the back of my head. I could sense his mood was low. In the future, there will be better gifts. I booked a room for Zhou Linchen. He was so drunk he could barely walk. I had no choice but to help him to his room, but he pulled me down onto the bed with him. I collapsed on top of him. The room came alive. This hormonally charged high school boy. Don't move. Just stay still. Okay. I didn't dare move. Zhou Linchen lay there, breathing with his neck arched, his Adam's apple bobbing, and his skin flushed red below his collarbone. His body was burning hot. Miraculously, Zhou Linchen soon fell asleep, clutching my wrist tightly. I tried to pry his fingers open without success, probably because I had just been reborn. I felt very sleepy. I set an alarm on my phone, planning to sleep for an hour before leaving. When I opened my eyes, Zhou Linchen was awake. He sat up in bed, watching me for who knows how long, showing no signs of drunkenness. I need to go home now. Suddenly, I felt a warm flow below. My period had started. The flow was especially heavy on the first day. When I got up, I saw a blood stain about 5 centimeters in diameter on the white bedsheet. A young boy and girl in a room, with a bloodstained sheet, if seen by a third person, it would be hard to explain. I ordered some sanitary pads and underwear, and plucking up courage, I said, "I'll leave in a bit." Zhou Linchen awkwardly replied, his face suspiciously red, fidgeting with the panda pendant on my bag. I tried to make conversation. "Have you finished your homework?" "Yeah, it's done. I have a physics problem I can't solve. Can you explain it to me?" "Sure." So, we sat on the large hotel bed, purely immersed in the ocean of knowledge. His approach to solving problems was simple and clear, and his handwriting was beautiful. Zhou Linchen was the kind of person with high intelligence, and natural talent who could succeed at anything. "Did you understand?" "Yes." I had never been so eager to learn, and I asked him to explain another math problem to me. I was so embarrassed I could curl my toes into the floorboards. Zhou Linchen's mouth curled into a smile. He was laughing secretly. "Finally, my takeout has arrived." After changing my sanitary pad, I stuffed my dirty underwear into my bag. "I'm leaving. You can find a hotel to change the sheets. It's okay. Don't worry about it." He asked, "Does your stomach hurt during your period?" "It hurts for the first 2 days." Zhou Linchen took off his coat and tied it around my waist, saying, "I'll remember that." Why would he remember that? Zhou Linchen insisted on taking me home and watched me enter the door before he left. The next day during gym class, I sat in the classroom with headphones on, working on a paper. I overheard a conversation between Xin Yao and Zhang Xiaoyun. "Today Zhou Linchen is handling the equipment. You follow him to the equipment room. Once inside, take off your clothes and hug him," shouting harassment. Our school has only one slot for the national physics competition. The school recommended Zhou Linchen. Xin Yao, afraid of angering his dad, lied that the school had recommended him in a past life. Zhou Linchen's ears were injured, and he had to rest at home for a month. Xin Yao took his place in the competition. In this life, Zhou Linchen was not hurt. Recently, Xin Yao has been causing trouble for Zhou Linchen, trying to snatch the physics competition slot. Zhang Xiaoyun was unwilling. I can't do that." There were rustling sounds. Xin Yao took off his clothes. "Brother Yao." Zhang Xiaoyun saw the wounds on his back and cried in pity. "If Zhou Linchen stays at Jialan High School, no matter how hard I try, I'll always be second. My dad's punishments are getting harsher. I can't take it anymore. Xiaoyun, save me." Those words were too impactful. The girl thought she was the boy's salvation and was willing to sacrifice herself to save him. "Okay." I ran to the equipment room, and no one was there yet. I heard someone coming in and hid behind a shelf. As soon as Zhang Xiaoyun entered, she took off her top and went to hug Zhou Linchen. Zhou Linchen pushed her away immediately. She covered her chest and was about to shout. I rushed over and covered her mouth. The three of us looked at each other, creating an awkward scene. "Sister, I've been here all along. You like my brother. So what's this about attacking Zhou Linchen?" Zhang Xiaoyun put her clothes back on and started crying. I pretended to be naive and said, "My dad still wants to arrange a marriage with your family, since you like Zhou Linchen. I'll tell my dad to drop the idea." "No, I like brother Yao." "Then what is this?" Zhang Xiaoyun grabbed my hand and said, "Yen Yen, don't ask any more. Can you keep this secret for me? I won't do this again." My goal was to block Xin Yao's move of using Zhang Xiaoyun to slander Zhou Linchen. "Okay." Zhang Xiaoyun left. In the equipment room, it was just me and Zhou Linchen left. "It was your brother who put her up to this." Mentioning Xin Yao, he showed a disgusted expression. "This is the third time you've saved me. You siblings are strange. You have such a good relationship, yet one wants to harm me and the other wants to save me." Zhou Linchen moved closer to me, and I stepped back. He reached out and held the back of my neck, leaned in close, and whispered in my ear, "If it had been you seducing me just now, I really would have committed a crime." Bang! Xin Yao burst in with the head teacher. I witnessed the scene unfold. From their perspective, it looked like a kiss stolen in passing. Old Hu, our stern and impartial director of discipline, had a zeal for cracking down on early romances. Having finally caught someone red-handed, he was visibly excited. "Zhou Linchen, Shen Huiyan, what are you two doing?" Separate immediately, there I was, standing with Zhou Linchen at the classroom door as punishment. Aren't those two the top students? Why are they being punished? I heard they were caught dating early. It's just like a top student to win over the school beauty. Ah. They are such a perfect match, I'm totally shipping them. Frustration filled my mind as old who wouldn't hear my explanations. I felt more wronged than the famous wronged heroine Doi. Zhou Linchin leaned against the wall, relaxed and cheerful. This scandal is all your fault. Yeah, my bad. With a gloomy face, I said. I've always been the good girl, the exemplary student. Now, not only am I punished by standing, but I also have to write a self-criticism, even more embarrassing. I'll have to read it in front of the whole school during the Monday flag-raising ceremony. Woe is me, since the fault is yours. Zhou Linchin, you should write the self-criticism for me. Alright, Zhou Linchin smiled at me. Shen Huiyan, you're finally back to your lively self. You've been so preoccupied lately. It's had me concerned. I was taken aback. I hadn't expected him to notice something was off. It's nothing, you're overthinking it. That's good to hear. During the flag-raising ceremony, I went up to read the self-criticism, trusting in the academic achiever's writing and resisting the self-criticism itself. I hadn't read it beforehand. I am Shen Huiyan from Class 1, Senior Year. Early romance is defined as romantic relationships formed by individuals under 18. I turned 18 last Thursday. And director who caught us on Friday, therefore, I am not involved in an early romance. Laughter spread through the crowd below. The school beauty is clever indeed, right? We're all adults here. If we want to kiss, we'll kiss. Zhou Linchin had crafted a self-criticism that, while seemingly innocuous at first glance, could provoke thought and stir imaginations, displaying a knack for creating viral content. I stumbled through the reading and glared at Zhou Linchin as I stepped down. He simply looked up at me, completely unapologetic. Then it was Zhou Linchin's turn to read his self-criticism. I am Zhou Linchin from Class 1, Senior Year. Shen Huiyan and I are not in an early romance because I haven't successfully pursued her yet. After these words, he stepped down. The students erupted in cheers. The scholar is awesome. Go for it, scholar. We support you. I face-bombed. Zhou Linchin at 18 was quite the character. After the ceremony, Shen Yao dragged me to the rooftop. Sis. Can you ask Zhou Linchin to give me his spot in the physics competition? Why would he listen to me? Just ask, he'll agree. Shen Yao, I can't do that. Shen Yao grabbed my shoulders, his expression almost fierce. I told Dad I'm joining the physics competition. He's already bragging about it to relatives. And I will definitely win an award in the physics competition and get recommended for admission to Beijing University. If he finds out I lied to him, he'll kill me. Yen Yen. Help your brother out. I placated him non-committally, saying, okay, I'll talk to him, but if he doesn't agree, there's nothing I can do. Shen Yao left, satisfied. Zhou Linchin stepped out from behind the wall and looked at me. I froze. He had heard everything. Zhou Linchin, why are you looking at me with such anticipation, waiting for you to ask for my help? Your brother was right. Just say the word, and I'll agree to anything. I demanded boldly. I want you to give me the first place trophy. Zhou Linchin smiled happily, his eyes curving into crescents. Okay, how could Zhou Linchin refuse you? When it comes to his future, he wouldn't just listen to me. Frustrated that his initial plan didn't work, Shen Yao concocted another scheme that very day. Aside from running a wonton shop, Sun Lan occasionally collected recyclables at the school. During lunch break, as I was about to doze off with headphones on, someone approached me. Master Shen, Zhou Linchin's mother has arrived. You must provoke him, make him hit you, then have your parents come and make a scene at the school to sabotage his competition eligibility. Don't worry, Master Shen, we'll handle it beautifully. Zhou Linchin was not in the classroom. As I walked out, I sent him a message. Your mom is at school. Shen Yao has asked Wu Qingxiang and the others to trouble her. A crowd had gathered by the pond. The crazy lady fell into the water. I pushed through the crowd and rushed over. Wu Qingxiang threw Sun Lan's money pouch into the water, scattering coins all over. As Sun Lan went into the water to retrieve her money, she floundered. She couldn't swim. Wu Qingxiang threw stones into the water, laughing. Hey, can't get up, can you? Shen Yao stood with his arms crossed, watching from above with a malicious smile. I jumped into the water. Auntie, don't be afraid, I'll get you out. The pond wasn't deep. But the shock had made Sun Lan panic. She was uncooperative and scratched my neck. The onlooking students asked, Shen Yao, aren't you going to save your sister? Shen Yao's face darkened, and with no other option, he jumped into the water. Soon after, Zhou Linchin rushed over and also jumped in. Shen Yao pulled me out of the water. Zhou Linchin rescued his mother. Once on shore, Zhou Linchin, furious, kicked Wu Qingxiang back into the water, then, grabbing Shen Yao by the collar, His eyes filled with rage, his fist ready to strike. Shen Yao spread his hands calmly, waiting for Zhou Linchen to hit him. Zhou Linchen, no fighting. My period made me feel awful soaking in the water. My neck was burning painfully, the skin broken and bleeding. My body trembled uncontrollably. Zhou Linchen let go of Shen Yao and supported me. I leaned against him, my hand gently stroking his chest, calming his rage. Take your mom home first. To avoid catching a cold, Sun Lan was terrified. Screaming in shock and hard to calm down, her classmates pointed and whispered about her. Zhou Linchen's mom has a mental illness. It's scary. With red eyes, Zhou Linchen gave me a deep look and left with his mother. Shen Yao took me to the hospital. Wrapped in a blanket, I felt a chill seeping through my body. Bored, Shen Yao sat next to me and took off his watch. The watch got water in it. I'll have the driver take it to Master Chen's shop for repairs. What bad timing for the watch to break. Would Master Chen find the listening device? Brother, let me take it for repair. You should rest. Just lie down. A part of me hoped he would stop bothering Zhou Linchen. After my rebirth, I had thought about guiding Shen Yao onto the right path. It wasn't me who had Wu Qingxiang bully his mother. How could you think so low of me? Shen Yao said, still playing the role of a good student in front of me. I suddenly saw through his act. In my past life, he had tortured me to get back at Zhou Linchen, even allowing a homeless man to assault me. He was inherently evil, beyond redemption. If it wasn't you, that's a relief, little sister. He's so poor, with a mute and insane mother, and dares to pursue you in public. He's just a toad lusting after a swan. Don't be foolish. Being with him would turn you from a rich young lady to a poor, haggard woman, I nonchalantly replied. I know, I won't like him. Shen Yao smiled and patted my head. Good girl. That's when I noticed Zhou Linchen standing at the door of the hospital room. Shen Yao, aware of his presence, lifted his chin in triumph and said, you heard her. My sister won't like you. You're not welcome here. Now leave. Zhou Linchen didn't argue with Shen Yao. He just turned and walked away. I thought he wouldn't come back. Late at night, feeling someone watching me, I woke up. Zhou Linchen was sitting by my bed. Shen Huiyan, does the scratch on your neck hurt? It doesn't hurt. I could see he was nearly overwhelmed with guilt. I'm sorry, my mom didn't mean to do it. My mom, she was a college student from the city, but she was kidnapped to the mountains during her freshman summer. The man who bought her, Wang Guishan, was a 42-year-old lazy man who raped her and had me. That place was poor, and the people were barbaric, treating women like animals. I can stand a hard life, but I couldn't stand him beating and raping my mom. At 10, I ran away with my mom. I reported him. Wang Guishan was sentenced to 8 years for rape and grievous bodily harm. So this year, Wang Guishan would be released. 8 years have passed, and my mom still lives in fear, afraid of being taken back. She was diagnosed with a mental illness and would become disturbed when triggered. I already knew this from my previous life. Hearing him say it again was still heartbreaking. Zhou Linchen laughed self-deprecatingly. I am the seed of a rapist, carrying disgusting blood. I never thought of being with you. You are as beautiful as a sickly sweet dream, one I dared not touch. I sat up. Zhou Linchen, come closer to me. Zhou Linchen moved closer. I embraced him, stroking his back. Comforting him. Zhou Linchen, I was being sarcastic when I spoke to my brother. You are wonderful. Don't feel inferior. How about we both apply to Beijing University? I promised him a future. Zhou Linchen hugged me tight, his body trembling slightly. Okay. The next day, I went to Master Chen's watch shop. Shen Yao was already there waiting for me. In front of him were disassembled watch parts. He held up a bug and asked, Sister, what is this? You know exactly what it is. Shen Yao flew into a rage and grabbed my throat. I always found it strange, why you happened to show up every time I dealt with him. I cherished the birthday gift you gave me, wearing it every day, and yet you betray me for a stranger. Shen Huiyan, we're twins. We should be the closest people in this world. How could you treat me like this? I heard my neck crack. He really wanted to kill me. Stop acting. You've always been deceiving me. Pretending to be good. You have no humanity. Shen Yao let go of me, his mouth twisting into a clownish grin. You caught me, sister. Growing up in a family like ours, turning out like me is normal. Why should you be untainted, trying to be a good person? Our relationship was irreparably damaged. Shen Yao threw down the bug and crushed it underfoot. Don't interfere with these little tricks anymore, or I'll bully you too. I clutched my throat. Without the bug, I wouldn't know when he would bring Wang Guishan to deliver a fatal blow to Zhou Linchen. Hopefully, this time, it would still happen the day before the college entrance exam. That way, it would still be under my control. The results of the latest monthly test were out. Zhou Linchen ranked first, Shen Yao was second, and my grades dropped to 76th in the class. That was normal. I had graduated over a decade ago. and I had mostly forgotten my high school knowledge. My current grades were still decent, thanks to a solid foundation and the martial arts secrets Zhou Linchen sent me. Lately, I had been studying till midnight, confident in regaining my original strength before the college entrance exam. Seeing my grades, Zhou Linchen was the most anxious. He repeatedly reviewed my papers for each subject, his brows furrowed. "This isn't your level, you've indeed been off lately." Holding his nearly perfect papers, I said, "The top student remains strong as ever." Zhou Linchen seriously replied, "Yes, your strength has arrived. Actually, spending time with him, you'd find he's not cold at all, but quite humorous." He picked up a pen and started to devise a study plan for my incorrect answers. Actually, I too was once a top student. I have my own study plan. Growing up in a love-deprived family, my mental health was never really in good shape. He has a strong desire to control, and I like being controlled. Actually, we are a perfect match. I noticed his suitcase at the back of the classroom and asked, "Are you going to the city by the sea for a competition?" "Yes, I need to attend a 2-week intensive training camp, and I have to hand in my phone, so I won't be able to contact you. Good luck. I'll be waiting for my first place trophy." Zhou Linchen handed me a study schedule. "Shen Huiyan, you should also work hard and study well. I'll check your progress when I get back." "Yes, sir." In the afternoon, Zhou Linchen left. During his absence, something happened. After school, Xinyao and I rode home together. "Little sister, you did terribly on this exam. Dad is going to be very angry." Despite Xinyao's efforts to hide it, I could see the schadenfreude and delight in his eyes. He knew that today, all of Dad's anger would be focused solely on me. When I got home, my dad, Xin Jianting, hadn't returned yet. I turned on my phone to livestream and placed it in the study. I regularly upload violin videos on this account and have already amassed 200,000 followers. Panda Ross finally started the livestream. "Are you playing the violin today?" "Today, I'm not playing the violin, I'm going to show you my dad." Xin Jianting came home. He stormed into the study, yanking off his tie and pointing at me with a fierce expression. "Kneel down." I knelt on the ground. Xin Jianting took out a whip and lashed me repeatedly. "What rules did I set for you? If I don't come first, I get beaten." But throughout high school, in every single test, midterm, and final, you've never beaten Zhou Linchen. Not once. It's always Zhou Linchen who comes first. I've beaten you so many times. How come you never improve? This time, you even dropped from the top 10 to 76th. Xin Jianting whipped me furiously. "I heard you want to date Zhou Linchen. You're worse than a prostitute. At least they know how to sell themselves for a good price. If you're longing for a man, don't waste it on that poor boy. My investors like you, sleeping with them could actually bring me value." Suddenly, I grabbed the whip. "Even before high school, you found all sorts of reasons to abuse me. When I was 5, I accidentally spilled some food, and you made me kneel and lick it clean. At 8, because I didn't play the violin well, you kicked me and broke one of my ribs. From childhood, you've masked countless instances of domestic violence as discipline for my own good. I used to think all fathers were like this, but later, I realized they're not." The number of viewers in the livestream room surged as the audience flooded the chat. "Stop hitting her." The blood on Panda's back. "It must hurt so much." Sob 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 sob. Never imagined Panda Ross's dad would be an abuser. Poor Ross, worse than a beast, unfit to be a father. Who is this man? Expose him and let him face social death. Found him, the vice president of Dingzuan Group, Xin Jianting, a corporate executive, a wolf in sheep's clothing. "Sisters, let's go rant on his company's official account." "I'll start. I've called the police." I was crying as I watched it, feeling so sorry for the young lady. I smiled at him fearlessly and declared, "I'm going to reveal your true face to everyone. If you hit me, you will pay a heavy price." Soon after, the police knocked on the door. Only then did Xin Jianting realize that his phone was live streaming. He collapsed to the ground, trembling like a coward. I saw myself at different ages, 5, 8, 18, all thanking the 28-year-old me. This time, I became my own hero, protecting myself. Due to my poor exam results, Xin Jianting's act of whipping me was only punished by a few days of detention. That's why I started the live stream. Destroying his reputation was the best punishment for such a hypocrite. The incident quickly fermented online, becoming a hot news topic. With the whole internet condemning him, he was branded as an abuser. Dingzuan Group swiftly issued a notice, relieving him of his vice presidential duties. I applied for a personal protection order. Xin Jianting could no longer come near me. My revenge against Xin Jianting ends here, because I know that in a couple of years, he will suddenly die of a heart attack. I didn't remind him to take precautions early, waiting for death to judge him. I had planned to stay in the dormitory, but after Sun Lan learned about my situation online, She took me back home to take care of me. I removed my shirt and lay on the bed while Sun Lan applied medicine to my back. I remembered in my past life, the first time Zhou Linchen saw the burn scars from cigarettes and whip marks on my body, he angrily asked, "Who did this, back then?" I resented him for imprisoning me and provoked him by saying I belonged to the BDSM community, and these were marks left by other men as part of their kinks. That drove him mad. "I can satisfy you, and from now on, you can only play with me." Every time, he would bite over my scars, marking them with his own. I was really reaping what I sowed, letting him believe I liked it rough. Sun Lan, seeing the scars on my back, cried with reddened eyes. My mother died in childbirth, and I never experienced maternal love. Sun Lan was very gentle, and I felt maternal love with her. Thinking of her ordeal, I wanted to try and open her heart. "Auntie, I used to think that Xin Jianting was a high authority, an unbeatable tyrant." Out of fear, I cowardly hid in my shell, enduring his abuse, but this was wrong. The more submissive and weak I was, the more he intensified his abuse. It was only when I fought back that I realized he was even more cowardly and vulnerable than me. I took Sun Lan's hand as I brought up that name, Wang Guishan. Hearing his name, Sun Lan started shaking, her eyes filled with fear. "He's just a 60-year-old man now. What's there to be afraid of? You need dough every day. Your hands are stronger than his. We can fight back and get revenge. Don't be afraid, you can overcome him too." Tears rolling down, Sun Lan wrote on a piece of paper, "I can defeat him, I am not afraid." Her handwriting soaked through the paper. Her gaze was resolute and brave. I gave her a hug, excitedly saying, "Yes, you can." The competition ended, just as Zhou Linchen got hold of his phone. He learned about my situation. "Call me right now." His voice was choked with sobs. "Shen Huiyan, are you alright?" "Yes, I'm fine. Your mom has taken good care of me. I've even gained weight over these 3 years. Have you hated me? Every time you were beaten, it was because of me." "Zhou Linchen, it's not your fault, if you wanted to hit me." He'd always find a new reason. "It's been like this since I was little. I really wish I could have whisked you away when you were young." I laughed and said, "Then why don't you raise me all over again?" "Alright, Shen Huiyan, I'll work hard to become wealthy, and give you all the best things. I don't lack material things. What I lack is love. So Zhou Linchen, come and love me." My words left Zhou Linchen bewildered, and he was eager to return. After school, I went to the wonton shop. Today, Sun Lan wasn't doing business. She had bought a lot of groceries, waiting for her son to come home. Sun Lan was busy in the kitchen, while I was doing my schoolwork. Suddenly, I saw Xin Yao standing outside the door. I approached him, cautious. "What are you doing here?" Xin Yao's face was very pale. He rolled up his sleeves to show me, his skin torn and flesh exposed. Not a spot was intact. The injuries hidden under his clothes were likely even worse. "After you left, Xin Jianting beat me even more ruthlessly, but I won't leave. I've endured for so many years. I must get all of Xin Jianting's property and resources." I coldly said, "That is your choice, but my hatred, it eventually needs an outlet." Zhou Linchen is coming back today. If he returns and finds out that his rapist father has taken his mother away, he won't be so happy and proud. Right, Xin Yao is a devil, unlike before. Today Xin Yao chose to ruin Zhou Linchen's life. At that moment, a sly old man with a bunch of people barged into the wonton shop. The old man was Wang Guishan. He shamelessly declared, "Wife, I've come to take you home." I pulled out my phone to call the police and blocked them, saying, "Aunt Lan is not your wife. I've already called the police. You better leave right away." They knocked my phone away. Wang Guishan's relatives saw me and said, "Wow, this girl is pretty. Let's take her too, to be my wife." Ha ha ha. You are really a bunch of savages. I picked up a stool and threw it at them. They were too many and too strong. I was seized by Wang Guishan's relatives. Wang Guishan went straight into the kitchen. "Ah, ah, ah." Screams came from the kitchen. It was Wang Guishan screaming. Sun Lan, holding a bloody kitchen knife, charged out of the kitchen. The previously fierce villagers immediately scattered like birds and beasts. Sun Lan, in a frenzy, chased them with the knife. Seeing Xin Yao, perhaps remembering he had bullied Zhou Linchen, she chased him with the knife. Xin Yao's face drastically changed, and in panic, he ran blindly across the street. Suddenly, Xin Yao was hit and killed by an oncoming truck. Sun Lan came to her senses, dropped the knife, and collapsed to the ground. I went over to embrace her. Looking at the gruesome scene on the road, my mind was a complete blank, devoid of sorrow, joy, love, or hatred. I just felt numbness in my limbs, and it was incredibly cold, at that moment. Someone enveloped Sun Lan and me in a warm, strong embrace. "Zhou Linchen, you're back." He held us tight, his forehead pressed against mine. "Yes, I'm back. Sun Lan had killed Wang Guishan. She had a psychiatric diagnosis and was having an episode at the time. So she was not held legally responsible. The villagers, fearing she might attack someone during another episode, dared not show up around her. Xin Yao crossed the street and died in a traffic accident, bearing the fate Sun Lan had in her previous life. Zhou Linsun rented a new apartment. At night, we lay face to face, holding hands. I want to see your body. His words were devoid of worldly desire. He just wanted to see the scars on my body. In front of him, I took off my clothes. Zhou Linsun's calloused fingers gently traced the old wounds on my back. Are they ugly? Not at all. You are beautiful. Zhou Linsun bowed his head, like the most devout believer, and kissed those scars. My eyelashes trembled lightly. In my previous life, I was a wronged ghost. Only now did I feel that my soul had found peace. The harsh winter had passed, and I was reborn in the spring. Suddenly, it was the day of the college entrance exam. Zhou Linsun, having won first place in a physics competition, was admitted to Beijing University without needing to take the entrance exams. I was more nervous than I was about my own exams. He repeatedly checked my admission ticket and my stationery. Fill in the answer sheet after the multiple choice questions. I know, if you encounter a question you can't solve, don't panic, just move on to the next one. Okay, Shen Huiyan. You are so strong now, getting into Beijing University will be no problem. Don't be nervous. Have confidence in yourself. He really was a fatherly boyfriend, always worrying. After the last exam, I felt I had done very well. I walked out of the exam room light-footedly, when Zhang Xiaoyun stopped me. After Xin Yao's death, she was the most heartbroken. Yao brother told me you spied on him and helped outsiders stab him in the back. He was very hurt. If he hadn't gone to see you, he wouldn't have been hit by a car. Zhang Xiaoyun seemed off. So I turned to leave. She grabbed my wrist tightly, her grip like a vice. And I couldn't break free. You were born together, you should die together. Shen Huiyan, go down and accompany him. With force, Zhang Xiaoyun pushed me from the 5th floor corridor. My body passed through a large tree and fell to the ground. I lay there, blood pouring from my mouth, every limb ached, my consciousness gradually fading. In this life, I had stopped Xin Yao from deafening Zhou Linsun. I fought back against an abusive father. The course of events changed Aunt Lan's fate from being killed by a car. It triggered a butterfly effect. Xin Yao died, a just retribution for his wrongdoings. Yet, I still harbored an unfulfilled wish. I wanted to experience a normal romance with Zhou Linsun. I didn't want to die. Zhou Linsun, save me. In the hospital ward, I woke up from a coma. Zhou Linsun was holding my hand. Asleep at the side of my bed, I hadn't died. Truly, I was fortunate. A large tree had broken my fall, saving my life. I squeezed Zhou Linsun's hand, and he woke up immediately. His face was unshaven, his eyes red with bloodshot. Zhou Linsun, how did you become so unattractive? He looked at me, stunned and silent. Just kidding, you've got that rugged charm, which is quite handsome. How long was I unconscious? Sev. Zhou Linsun's voice was hoarse. He cleared his throat, and after a long pause, he managed to say, 7 days. Are my injuries severe? Very. Multiple fractures and breaks throughout the body. I smiled at him reassuringly. It's okay, I'll get better. Zhou Linsun held my hand, tears streaming down his face. He cried just as heartbreakingly as when I died in my past life. Zhou Linsun, I have no home left. Once I'm better, take me home with you. He planted a deep, affectionate kiss on my forehead. Okay, in this life, fate ultimately sheltered us. The love unspoken in our past life continued in this one. Epilogue. 10 years later. Zhou Linsun, as in the previous life, became a rising star in the business world, and I became a successful lawyer. In my spare time, I used social media to educate on the law and provided legal aid to netizens. My relationship with Zhou Linsun was sweet. I was a winner in both my career and love life. But recently, our relationship faced a major crisis. A client's boss took an interest in me. His name was Fu Zhuiyuan, a prince of the capital's elite circles. It was also my fault. I hadn't realized he was pursuing me. One Sunday, I was enjoying a lazy morning in bed with Zhou Linsun. Suddenly, Fu Zhuiyuan called me, asking to discuss a case about his company. Zhou Linsun, with his face against my chest and his hands mischievously at work, grumpily said, who calls someone to talk business on a weekend? For work, honey. Zhou Linsun clicked his tongue and got up with me. He drove me there. Fu Zhuiyuan had chosen his restaurant to discuss the matter. As soon as I entered, I realized it was a setup. The floor was covered with rose petals and heart-shaped candles lit the space. Fu Zhuiyuan approached me with a bouquet of roses. Yan Yan, I like you. Would you be my girlfriend? Zhou Linsun couldn't help but laugh. Yan Yan. I immediately grabbed Zhou Linsun's hand, our fingers tightly interlaced. I already have a boyfriend. And we've been deeply in love for 10 years, Fu Zhuiyuan, ever so provocative. Eyed Zhou Linchen and challenged, I know. But dating for 10 years without marriage often means it won't happen. I'm younger and richer than him. It would be a wise choice to leave him for me. Zhou Linchen's fists clenched. If not for my hold on him, he would have charged at Fu Zhuiyuan already. I soothed Zhou Linchen by patting his chest. To Mr. Fu, I said, are you out of your mind? I pulled Zhou Linchen away and we left. Zhou Linchen was still enveloped in a dreadful gloom until he got home. I squatted in front of him, smiling, and said, don't be mad. I had no idea he was going to pull such a stunt. I'm innocent here. Shen Huiyan, you've been with me for 10 years. Are you tired of me? I was utterly baffled. You are tired of me. Don't think I don't browse the internet. These days, all the girls like guys under 25. I'm 28 this year, so you probably want someone younger and more energetic. Don't be ridiculous. You're the one with too much energy. I always find it exhausting. Are you not satisfied? Isn't it comfortable? I coughed awkwardly, treading carefully. We're arguing now, right? Can you slow down the car? I'm getting carsick. Zhou Linchen became furious. Take this seriously. Stop joking around. You're so charming and good-looking. The number of men interested in you will only increase. I hooked his finger with my pinky, knowing that he didn't distrust me, but was just making an excuse because he was so eager to marry me. It was I who didn't want to marry too early. So he was just matching my pace. Mr. Zhou thinks about marriage every day. Now, I was finally ready. Zhou Linchen, let's get married. The anger on Zhou Linchen's face instantly vanished, replaced by an excessively radiant smile. He grabbed my hand and led me away. Where are we going? To pick a wedding dress. He was truly in a hurry.